Hi everyone, welcome to Detective Brooks. Before you drift off, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. If you're enjoying the stories, don't forget to like and subscribe now. Let's relax and jump into tonight's case. Our story begins in Michigan, 1994, where Jonathan entered the world, the cherished son of Jennifer and Michael. Just 3 years later, his sister Jessica would join him, and from the very start, an unbreakable bond formed between them, a connection that seemed almost otherworldly. But as we will soon discover, Jonathan's life would take a tragic turn. In a household fraught with tension, parents Jennifer and Michael found themselves ensnared in a web of frequent disputes. Their children, Jonathan and Jessica, were often left to navigate the storm alone, seeking refuge in the warm embrace of their grandmother, Sandra, a figure of nurturing and stability. Sandra, Jennifer's mother, transformed her home into a sanctuary for the young ones. Here, amidst the chaos of their parents' lives, Jonathan and Jessica discovered a haven filled with love and laughter. Sandra, with her infectious joy, became the heart of their world, creating cherished memories that would linger long after the shadows of their family troubles faded. She shared her life with Fred, a steadfast presence in her own right. In 2008, Sandra and Fred forged a family unit that would become a sanctuary for Jonathan and Jessica, a refuge born from years of chaos. The backdrop of this story is marked by the tumultuous divorce of Jennifer and Michael, which shattered the stability of Jonathan's senior year at Central High School. As he stood on the precipice of adulthood, life took an unexpected and harsh turn. His mother, in a bid for a fresh start, decided to uproot their lives from Michigan to Arizona. For Jonathan, this was not just a move. It was a severing of ties with the only world he had ever known. But the challenges didn't end there. Upon their arrival in Arizona, the family was met with a series of trials that would test their resilience and redefine their lives forever. In the midst of a relocation, tragedy struck when young Jessica fell gravely ill. After a series of extensive tests and examinations, the doctor delivered the harrowing news. A tumor had been discovered on her brain. The diagnosis shattered the family, plunging them into a nightmare they never anticipated. The very next day, Jessica was wheeled into surgery, a desperate attempt to remove the malignant threat. The operation was deemed successful, but the aftermath was anything but easy. Jessica faced a grueling recovery, confined to the sterile walls of the hospital for an entire month. During this agonizing time, her mother, Jennifer, poured every ounce of her being into caring for her daughter, neglecting her own needs in the process. The emotional toll was immense, leaving scars that would linger long after the physical wounds had healed. In the shadows of his new life, Jonathan found himself grappling with an overwhelming sense of isolation. The weight of adolescence bore down on him, compounded by the aching absence of his mother and sister. It was a struggle that did not go unnoticed. His grandmother, Sandra, sensing the turmoil that churned within him, decided to take action. She reached out to Jennifer, her heart heavy with concern for her grandson's fragile state. In a moment of clarity, Sandra proposed a plan, sending Jonathan north to Michigan to the comforting embrace of her and her husband Fred. She believed that the familiar sights and the laughter of old friends could offer Jonathan a glimmer of solace amidst the storm that raged in his young heart. Jonathan, a good boy at his core, stood on the precipice of change, unaware of the journey that lay ahead. In the midst of a seemingly ordinary life, a young boy radiated the kind of energy that only a teenager could muster: wild, untamed, and unpredictable. Jennifer, however, was gripped by a gnawing concern. Could her 74-year-old mother, Sandra, truly handle the responsibility of caring for him? Yet, with a calm assurance, Sandra insisted she was more than capable, her words a soothing balm to Jennifer's worries. Just a month after the Hoffman family made their way to the sun-soaked landscapes of Arizona. Jonathan found himself back in Michigan, moving in with his grandmother and her husband, Fred. This unexpected homecoming was a bittersweet moment, bringing a wave of joy and relief to Jonathan, who was navigating the tumultuous waters of his senior year in high school. He returned, a figure of joy among his friends and family, enveloped in a warmth he had longed for during his absence. Jonathan's friends noted his initial shyness, a mask that quickly fell away to reveal a vibrant spirit, eager to share laughter and adventure. He was a seeker of thrills, always ready to embrace the new and unknown. Back in Michigan, at Farmington Central High School, his friends welcomed him with open arms, their excitement palpable. Meanwhile, Jennifer, his mother, felt the ache of separation deeply, making the journey to Michigan for a 2-week reunion, desperate to reconnect with her son despite the shadows that lingered around them. In the seemingly serene life of Jonathan, living with his grandmother, Jennifer, a dark undercurrent began to surface. It was during a routine visit that Jennifer stumbled upon the unsettling truth. Her grandson had been smoking cannabis. While Jonathan's flirtation with illegal substances remained limited to this one vice, it was enough to cast a shadow over their relationship. Jennifer, though disapproving, chalked it up to the typical rebellious phase of adolescence. Yet, as she prepared to leave after a bittersweet trip with her son, a heavy heart weighed on her. With a final farewell to Jonathan, she clung to the hope that he would be safe and sound. As she journeyed back to Arizona, her thoughts spiraled into a tumult of worry and uncertainty, leaving her to ponder the choices that lay ahead for her grandson. With every thought of her son's well-being, Jennifer sought solace in the belief that her mother would protect Jonathan, her grandchild, from any harm. But she was tragically mistaken. Unbeknownst to Jennifer, Jonathan was ensnared in a perilous situation, one orchestrated by his very own grandmother, Sandra. In just a few short weeks, the unthinkable would unfold, culminating in Jonathan's untimely death on May 19th, 2017, at precisely 5:27 p.m. Jonathan Hoffman's frantic call to 911 echoed with desperation, his voice quaking as he delivered the chilling news. His grandmother had shot him, and he was on the brink of death. The dispatcher, sensing the urgency of the situation, swiftly mobilized police and paramedics to Jonathan's home. As she spoke to him, her voice remained a beacon of calm amid the storm of panic and dread that enveloped him. Yet, an unsettling silence loomed over the line, causing the dispatcher to momentarily fear that the connection had been severed or that Jonathan had succumbed to his injuries. Just as her heart raced with dread, a flicker of hope emerged, reminding her that every second counted in this harrowing moment. As she listened, a sudden barrage of gunfire erupted from the phone, piercing through the air like a chilling omen. A pained cry echoed, Jonathan's voice cracking with sheer terror as he gasped, "Ow!" Desperation laced his words as he informed the operator that his grandmother had shot him again. The West Bloomfield Township Police Department officers were swiftly dispatched, their sirens wailing as they raced to Sandra Lane's house, arriving at precisely 5:33 p.m. As they drew near, the sharp crack of gunfire echoed ominously from within the residence. The officers, seasoned in the art of crisis management, sprang into action without a moment's hesitation. They took cover behind their patrol vehicles, a barrier between them and the chaos that lurked just beyond. From their vantage point, they spotted a woman moving through the shadows of the house. With voices steady and authoritative, they commanded her to drop her weapon. In that charged atmosphere, time seemed to freeze, hearts racing in unison as they awaited the next move, the tension thick enough to slice through. As the officers approached the residence, the unmistakable sound of a gun being secured echoed in the air, a chilling assurance that the individual inside had taken measures to contain the weapon. With a shared resolve, they decided to breach the threshold. Upon entering the dimly lit home, They were met by the unsettling sight of 74-year-old Sandra Lane, a Glock 17.4 caliber handgun resting ominously at her feet. Her gaze was fixed on the officers, unwavering and eerily calm. "I murdered my grandson," she declared, her voice devoid of emotion, as if recounting a mundane errand. The words hung heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the tranquility of her demeanor. When one of the officers dared to inquire why she had committed such a heinous act, Sandra remained unyielding, her chilling indifference only deepening the mystery of that fateful day. For 2 agonizing minutes, silence enveloped the scene as the police arrived at Sandra's home. Handcuffed and placed in the back of a patrol vehicle, Sandra's demeanor was unsettlingly calm. Officers, driven by urgency, entered the house, where the air was thick with smoke, obscuring their vision. As they ascended the staircase, they reached the landing, and there lay Jonathan Hoffman, her 17-year-old grandson, sprawled on the hardwood floor. Clad only in gym shorts and socks, his young body was a haunting sight, marred by multiple gunshot wounds that told a grim story of violence and tragedy. His upper torso bore the marks of a brutal struggle, and despite the severity of his condition, the medics managed to detect a faint pulse. With urgency coursing through their veins, Jonathan was rushed to Botsford Hospital, where a team of medical professionals labored tirelessly to stabilize him. Yet, their efforts proved futile, and after 30 minutes of intense medical intervention, the grim reality set in. He was pronounced dead. Meanwhile, the ambulance's frantic journey had left a chilling aftermath. Sandra Lane's home was cordoned off as a crime scene. The residents, spanning 3 levels, whispered secrets of chaos, with nearly every room filled with signs of a violent confrontation. In a chilling scene of violence and blood, crime scene investigators arrived, their hearts racing as they prepared to uncover the truth behind the shocking events that had unfolded. As they descended the basement staircase, the air thick with tension, they were immediately confronted by the haunting presence of footprints and blood stains marking the ground, a grim testament to the chaos that had erupted. With meticulous care, the investigators preserved this critical evidence, their eyes scanning the dimly lit surroundings. Moving deeper into the house, the team stumbled upon a disturbing sight. 10 bullet casings scattered haphazardly across the floor, each one a silent witness to the violence that had transpired. One investigator, keenly observant, spotted a bullet hole in the drywall, a stark reminder of the deadly confrontation that had taken place within these walls. As the investigators delved deeper into the case, their search led them to the 2nd floor, where a chilling discovery awaited them, a gun case brimming with ammunition. Amidst the flurry of activity, they meticulously documented every detail, capturing images of Sandra, her face, arms, and hands, while she sat in the back of the patrol car, visibly shaken. Tears streamed down her face, a poignant reminder of the turmoil surrounding her. Just then, Fred Lane, Sandra's husband, arrived outside the house, accompanied by their dog. He claimed to have been gone for an hour, simply taking the dog for a walk, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within the walls of their home. After Sandra's chilling confession, Fred was left reeling, grappling with the horrifying reality that his wife had shot and killed their own grandson, Jonathan. The moment Jan was declared dead at the hospital, the police found themselves burdened with the grim duty of delivering the heart-wrenching news to the family. Their cherished son had been murdered by none other than his grandmother, Sandra Lane. As detectives dug deeper into the dark layers of this tragic case, they uncovered that Jonathan had been living in Michigan, while his parents and sister were thousands of miles away in Arizona. When the detectives finally broke the devastating news to Jennifer, the weight of the tragedy hung heavy in the air, forever altering the lives of those left behind. She learned that her mother had shot and killed her beloved son, leaving her in a state of stunned disbelief. It seemed inconceivable that someone who was meant to love and cherish their grandchildren could commit such a heinous act. Everyone knew that Jonathan was his grandmother's favorite, which made it even more unfathomable how he ended up dead at Sandra's hands. As the day wore on, the clock ticked towards 7:30 p.m. As the clock struck midnight on May 20th, the police made a crucial decision. They took Sandra Lane, a woman of advanced age, to the hospital for a health evaluation. In the sterile confines of the emergency room, Sandra maintained her unwavering stance, insisting that Jonathan had never laid a hand on her. She painted a picture of him as a good boy, one who had never harmed anyone. After a thorough medical assessment, the doctors found no suspicious injuries on her frail frame. With this revelation, the police had no choice but to return her to the patrol car, steering her towards the police department for further questioning. It was there, in the dimly lit station, that her attorney awaited her arrival, ready to navigate the murky waters of the unfolding investigation. After providing her official statement to the police, Sandra sought legal counsel from her attorney. When the detectives finally met with them, the narrative took a startling turn. Initially, at the hospital, she had insisted that her grandson was not involved in the incident. Yet, during the tense meeting at the police station, her account shifted dramatically. She now claimed that an altercation had erupted between her and Jonathan, filled with yelling and screaming. In a shocking twist, she alleged that Jonathan had kicked her in the stomach, leaving her in a state of fear for her safety. Life unfolded in a chilling narrative for Sandra. Jonathan, once a familiar presence, had begun to display unsettling behavior, a tempest of anger brewing beneath the surface. He would slip in and out of her life at all hours, often accompanied by a motley crew of individuals who sent shivers down her spine. As the nights grew darker, so did her suspicions. Valuables began to vanish from her home, leading her to a harrowing conclusion. Jonathan and his dubious friends might be entwined in a web of theft. The shadows deepened as Sandra recalled her grandson's troubled past, a history marked by run-ins with the law. It was a story fraught with tension, a tale of trust eroding under the weight of deceit. It began with a routine traffic stop, the kind that often leads to nothing more than a warning. But for Jonathan, it was the beginning of a downward spiral. The officer discovered cannabis hidden within the confines of his vehicle, a revelation that would have sent most into a tailspin of regret. Yet, not long after, fate would intervene once more. Jonathan found himself pulled over again, this time with Adderall in his possession, a stark reminder of his reckless choices. But the chaos didn't end there. Sandra, a witness to his unraveling, recalled a harrowing night when she had to dial 911, fearing for her safety. Jonathan's rage erupted, his voice a cacophony of obscenities that echoed through the night. When the police arrived, the tension was palpable, a scene that would haunt them all. Sandra pleaded with them, desperate to prevent Jonathan's arrest. She insisted that her decision to buy a gun stemmed solely from Jonathan's erratic behavior. The tension escalated on May 18th, a day that would forever alter their lives. After taking Jonathan to the probation department, where he had failed to comply with his terms, they returned home. It was there that Jonathan unleashed his fury, threatening to take her car before launching a violent attack. With no witnesses to the shooting except for Sandra, the detectives found themselves grappling with the daunting task of verifying her harrowing account. In a chilling twist of fate, the frail figure of a 74-year-old grandmother stood accused, her claim of self-defense hanging in the balance. Detectives were thrust into a meticulous investigation, driven by the urgency to uncover the truth behind the confrontation with a violent teenage boy. As they delved into the evidence, they scrutinized the photographs captured by crime scene investigators, taken moments after Sandra confessed to shooting Jonathan. Yet, in a perplexing turn, the detectives found no signs of struggle on Sandra. No scratches, no bruises, nothing that would suggest she had fought for her life. As the courtroom drama unfolded, the absence of physical evidence raised haunting questions about the events that transpired that fateful day. The judge's gavel struck down hard, sealing Sandra's fate as she was ordered to remain in custody at the Han Correctional Facility, awaiting the trial that would determine her future. Paul Walton, the prosecutor, scrutinized every detail of the case, particularly the chilling 911 call made by Jonathan. As he listened intently, a haunting silence enveloped the recording, an agonizing 2 minutes and 51 seconds before the sound of another gunshot shattered the stillness. In that moment, Walton's instincts screamed that Jonathan, already gravely injured, posed no immediate threat to Sandra. The evidence painted a stark picture, one that would challenge the very essence of her claim to self-defense. Sandra's defense attorney wove a narrative that painted a chilling picture of the events that unfolded that fateful day. They argued that Jonathan, despite his injuries, remained a looming threat. The defense seized upon a haunting moment from the 911 call, where Sandra's desperate cries of "let go" echoed through the air, implying that Jonathan was still advancing on his grandmother, a predator even in his weakened state. They portrayed Sandra Lane as nothing more than an innocent and loving grandmother, a victim caught in a web of violence. The climax of the 911 call revealed her frantic plea to a grandson, a moment that underscored the chaos and fear that enveloped their home. As the courtroom buzzed with tension, the defense painted a picture of Sandra Lane as a nurturing soul, bleeding out to lie down, her intention to fetch water a testament to her compassion. Yet, Prosecutor Walton found himself ensnared in a web of confusion. Who was Sandra Lane really? A loving grandmother, forced into a tragic decision that led to the death of her grandson, or a cold-blooded killer, mercilessly gunning him down like prey in the woods? The quest for the truth about Sandra Lane loomed large, shrouded in shadows and uncertainty. Walton embarked on a meticulous quest, conducting interviews throughout the town. Each testimony, woven together, crafted a vivid portrait of Sandra, a seemingly ordinary grandmother. She was a familiar face at the local salon, a devoted member of her synagogue, a Sunday school teacher, and a tireless volunteer. Her generosity and affluence were well known, but what truly captivated the detective was the chorus of overwhelmingly positive remarks from those who knew her. They spoke of her profound connection with her grandchildren, particularly Jonathan, painting a picture of a woman deeply rooted in love and community. Seemed to contradict the horrific act she had admitted to committing. However, a different story emerged when the detectives interviewed Jennifer, Sandra's daughter, Jonathan's mother. Jennifer provided a different take on her mother's character, contradicting the image presented by the community. She claimed that her mother was not the warm and compassionate person portrayed by others. Instead, she painted a different picture, describing her mother as a controlling and abusive person. According to Jennifer, in a household shrouded in turmoil, Sandra's childhood was marked by the relentless battles between her parents. The echoes of their fights were a constant backdrop, and there were moments when the tension escalated to violence, with Sandra herself becoming the aggressor. Her father, a ghostly figure often absent from their lives, left her mother to wield unchecked authority over their home. This power dynamic transformed Sandra into a tyrant, unleashing her fury in chaotic tirades. Then came the day when her father embarked on a trip, one that would stretch into eternity, leaving behind a void that would never be filled. Years later, Sandra found herself remarrying a man named Fred Lane, a union that sparked a remarkable shift in her mother's demeanor. Jennifer, observing from the sidelines, noted the profound affection her mother held for Fred, believing that he was the catalyst for this newfound change. He was a man who initially brought a sense of stability to their home. At first, it seemed that Sandra's arguing and controlling behavior had diminished. However, after Jennifer gave birth to her first child, Jonathan, things took a dark turn. Jennifer claimed that her mother, Sandra, became increasingly controlling, her obsession with the baby growing to alarming levels. Jennifer often joked that she feared her mother wanted to kidnap the child, a thought that lingered uncomfortably in her mind. It was a chilling realization for Jennifer, who believed that her mother's fixation had crossed into unhealthy territory, especially after Sandra faced serious charges. In the quiet town of West Bloomfield, a chilling tale unfolded as the community found itself divided over the tragic fate of young Jonathan. Whispers filled the air, painting him as a troubled soul, a drug user whose life had spiraled out of control. In stark contrast, his grandmother, Sandra, emerged as a figure of sympathy, a frail, innocent woman caught in a web of violence and despair. As the story spread, a wave of support surged through the town, with residents rallying around Sandra. Social media became a battleground of opinions, where hashtags like #GoGrannyGo echoed the sentiments of those who believed in her innocence. The narrative twisted, casting Jonathan as a monster, while Sandra was embraced as a misunderstood matriarch, igniting a fierce debate that would haunt the community for years to come. It was a chilling revelation when it became clear that most of Sandra's family had embraced her self-defense story, effectively erasing the memories of both Jonathan and herself. Throughout this harrowing ordeal, Sandra's husband, Fred, remained a steadfast pillar of support, unwavering in his loyalty. The medical examiner's findings were stark. Jonathan Hoffman had met his end by homicide. The grim details unfolded as the cause of death was attributed to the multiple gunshot wounds he had suffered. A closer examination of those wounds unveiled stippling, a telltale sign that the gun had been fired at close range. Jonathan's story unfolds with chilling details, marked by the echoes of gunshot wounds that pierced the silence. A toxicology report emerged, revealing a sinister presence in his system, synthetic marijuana, infamously known as spice. At that time, K2 was a dark shadow lurking among the youth of West Bloomfield, easily accessible at gas stations without a hint of scrutiny. The community was rife with tales of those who succumbed to its grip, spiraling into violent outbursts. Intriguingly, just a month prior to Jonathan's tragic end, a series of unsettling events began to unfold. In a chilling tale that unfolded within the walls of a seemingly ordinary high school, a dark shadow loomed over the lives of its students. Michael Cipriano, a classmate of Jonathan, found himself embroiled in a tragic act of violence, taking the life of his father, Robert, after a heated verbal clash. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and it was reported that Michael was under the influence of spice during the harrowing incident. Meanwhile, Jessica, Jonathan's sister, harbored a profound love for her brother, yet she couldn't ignore the unsettling awareness of his emotional volatility, which sometimes erupted into violence. A nagging thought began to plague her mind. Had her brother harmed their grandmother? This haunting question lingered, culminating in a devastating decision that would forever alter their family's fate, as she shot and killed him just 2 months later. After Sandra found herself in handcuffs at a circuit court arraignment, the gravity of her situation deepened as she faced 2 additional charges: possession of a firearm and the commission of a felony. But the most chilling of all was the unique indictment of open murder, a rare legal term that only surfaces in select states like Nevada and Michigan. This charge blurred the lines between first and second-degree murder, leaving the jury to grapple with the complexities of her case. Prosecutor Paul Walton, acutely aware of the potential hesitance from jurors to convict a grandmother of premeditated murder, made a strategic choice. He opted to present the jury with a wider array of options, a decision that would shape the course of this haunting tale. Displeased, the defense felt that the prosecution was shirking their responsibilities. In 2013, Sandra Lane found herself on trial for the murder of her own grandson. The news of this tragic killing rippled across the nation, capturing the public's morbid fascination. Many pointed fingers at Jennifer, Jonathan's mother, accusing her of sending her son to Michigan with Sandra, as if she were somehow complicit in the horror that unfolded. Social media erupted with vitriol, with some suggesting that Jonathan deserved his fate, and even turning their ire towards Jennifer herself. Throughout the trial, Sandra Lane's defense attorneys worked tirelessly to paint her as an innocent, loving figure, desperately trying to shield her from the storm of public outrage that surrounded the case. In the dimly lit courtroom, the tension was palpable as the state unleashed a counter-narrative, seeking to dismantle the claims of self-defense put forth by the grandmother. Prosecutor Walton, a figure of relentless determination, presented the jury with haunting images captured in the aftermath of the shooting. These stark visuals, he argued, revealed glaring inconsistencies in Sandra's version of events. Among the most striking discrepancies was the pristine condition of her clothing, untorn and unscathed, while her jewelry remained intact and her glasses sat firmly in place. Even her hair, meticulously styled, told a story that contradicted her claims. This evidence, chilling in its implications, cast a shadow over her account, leaving the jury to ponder the truth hidden beneath the surface. In a chilling twist, it became clear that there was no physical struggle between Sandra and Jonathan, despite her claims to the contrary. The evidence painted a stark picture. Sandra had ventured down to the basement after the gunfire, presumably in search of more ammunition. The bloody footprints discovered on the basement stairs told a harrowing tale, leading investigators to conclude they belonged to Sandra, stained with Jonathan's blood. As the prosecution concluded their case, the stage was set for Sandra's defense to unfold their narrative. In a bold move to fortify her defense, Sandra's attorney made the fateful decision to let her take the stand, fully aware of the peril that lay ahead. The attorney believed it was crucial for the jury to hear Sandra's harrowing account of life with her grandson, Jonathan, in the dark months leading up to his tragic demise. According to Sandra, Jonathan was a tempestuous presence, prone to violent outbursts that included kicking down doors and smashing belongings. One particularly chilling incident involved him shattering a computer monitor, a prelude to the fateful day that would forever alter their lives. Sandra's testimony would reveal the unsettling truth behind the chaos that surrounded them, a truth that would haunt the courtroom as the story unfolded. In a chilling turn of events, she recounted the moment he struck her in the head, a blow that left her feeling both threatened and terrified. In a desperate bid for protection, she decided to retrieve her gun, believing it would serve as a safeguard against further aggression. Her testimony revealed that her intention was never to take her grandson's life, but rather to prevent him from rising again to attack her. Yet, as the courtroom tension mounted during cross-examination, Prosecutor Paul Walton skillfully dismantled her defense. Under his relentless questioning, Sandra was forced to confront the truth. Her motive for arming herself was not rooted in fear for her own safety, but rather a desire to assert control over Jonathan. As the courtroom buzzed with tension, the admission from her lips hung heavy in the air, casting shadows over her credibility as a witness. It was a precarious position, one that would complicate any argument for self-defense. Experts took the stand, their voices steady as they revealed the presence of K2 spice in Jonathan's urine at the time of his untimely death. They asserted that he was not under the drug's influence when he met his fate, the location of the substance in his system suggesting it had already begun to fade away. This revelation cast doubt on Sandra's claims of Jonathan being high and violent, a narrative that began to unravel with each piece of evidence presented at the trial. The jury, after 2 grueling days of deliberation, finally reached a verdict: guilty on charges of second-degree murder and the use of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Sandra was sentenced to a staggering 20 years behind bars. But the story takes a darker turn, set against the backdrop of a world where children should bask in the warmth of safety and love from their parents. On that fateful day, June 15th, 2023, the innocence of three young boys, 4-year-old Hunter, 7-year-old Clayton, and 3-year-old Chase, was brutally extinguished. The man responsible for this unspeakable tragedy? Their own father, 32-year-old Chad Dorman, whose actions would forever alter the course of their lives. In a tale that sent shockwaves through the nation, a father found himself at the center of a harrowing tragedy, the deaths of his own children. The brutal act of taking their lives unfolded like a dark shadow over the quiet town of Monroe, Ohio, where the chilling narrative of horror began to take shape. On June 15th, 2023, 3 innocent boys were senselessly killed, leaving their mother and the community engulfed in a state of shock and disbelief. Chad Dorman, the father, was charged with this horrific crime, and in the initial moments, he confessed to the unthinkable, revealing a twisted love that spiraled into unimaginable violence. But later, he pleaded not guilty, deepening the enigma of his motives and role as the investigation unfolded. Disturbing details about the incident began to surface, crafting a chilling narrative of a father's plunge into unimaginable cruelty. As the legal proceedings dragged on, the world watched with bated breath, yearning for justice for the innocent lives lost and grappling with the haunting question: what could compel a father to perpetrate such a horrific crime against his own children? Chad Christopher Dorman, a 32-year-old, stood at the center of this dark tale. In the quiet town of New Richmond, Ohio, nestled along the banks of the Ohio River, lived a seemingly ordinary family. Chad, a devoted husband, shared his life with 34-year-old Laura. Together, they navigated the complexities of parenthood, raising a teenage stepdaughter named Alexis, who was just 16. The couple also had 3 young sons, Hunter, Clayton, and Chase, ages 3, 4, and 7. These boys, full of energy and laughter, were inseparable and shared a passion for sports. While Chad ventured out to work and provide for the family, Laura embraced her role as a stay-at-home mom, nurturing their tight-knit household. Their home, a modest 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom abode, reflected the simplicity of their lives in a small community of about 2,800 residents. To the outside world, they were just another family, living their lives in the shadows of the mundane, unaware of the dark twists that fate had in store for them. Until tragedy struck, the day seemed ordinary. On June 15th, 2023, Chad returned home from work earlier than usual, seeking a moment of peace with his family. He invited his wife, Laura, and their 3 sons to join him in their bedroom, where laughter and chatter filled the air, creating a warm atmosphere of togetherness. But beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic scene lay a dark twist of fate. After a few moments of joy, Chad rose from the bed and approached the gun safe positioned ominously beside them. With a chilling calmness, he opened it and retrieved the Marlin model. In a chilling turn of events, a loaded HC-22 rifle became the instrument of tragedy when a father shot his 4-year-old son. Hunter not once, but twice. Meanwhile, in the family room, his daughter, Alexis, was engrossed in her television show, blissfully unaware of the impending horror. The sudden crack of gunfire shattered her world, prompting her to rush toward the primary bedroom, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread. As she reached the doorway, the scene that unfolded before her was nothing short of nightmarish. Her brother, Hunter, was being shot. Fear gripped her heart, and she fled, her instincts screaming for survival. In the chaos, Laura, their mother, rushed to her wounded child, her voice piercing the air as she urged the other kids to escape, to run for their lives. Alexis, in that moment, became acutely aware of the fragility of safety, her young mind grappling with the horror that had just unfolded. In a chilling moment that would forever haunt the small community, the oldest boy burst through the wrong door, sprinting toward the open field as his mother's frantic voice echoed behind him, urging him to keep running. But behind him, Chad was in hot pursuit, a sinister intent fueling his every step. Within moments, the unthinkable happened. He raised his weapon and fired at his own 7-year-old son, Clayton. The boy crumpled to the ground, blood pooling beneath him, a stark contrast to the innocence of childhood. Chad stood over him, an eerie calmness enveloping him as if he had finally accomplished something dark and twisted. Witnessing this horror, Alexis's heart raced with terror. She knew she had to act fast. She dashed into the house, snatched her youngest brother, and fled, desperation driving her to protect their fragile lives. But Chad was relentless. He turned his attention to Alexis, closing the distance between them with a predator's determination. He caught her, raising his gun once more, demanding she put down the 3-year-old Chase. In that moment, the air was thick with fear, and the line between life and death hung precariously in the balance. In a desperate moment, Alexis found herself pleading for her life, tears streaming down her face as she begged Chad to lower the weapon. Just as he aimed for her head, fate intervened. His gun clicked empty. Seizing the opportunity, Alexis sprinted towards the fire station, her heart racing. There, she encountered a woman passing by, her voice trembling as she revealed the horrifying truth. Her stepfather had murdered her entire family. The woman, gripped by shock, immediately dialed 911 at 4:15 p.m., setting the wheels of justice in motion. In a chilling turn of events, 3-year-old Chase found himself back in the arms of his mother, only for the atmosphere to shift dramatically as Chad and Laura erupted into a fierce argument over the child. In a desperate attempt to reclaim his son, Chad lunged forward, trying to wrench Chase from Laura's protective grasp, but she held on, fiercely defending her child. Then, in a shocking act of violence, Chad bit Laura, a grotesque prelude to what was to come. He pressed a gun against her thumb and pulled the trigger, leaving Laura gravely wounded and causing her to drop Chase. In a heart-stopping moment, Chad turned the weapon on the innocent boy, shooting him in the head. The horror didn't end there. After extinguishing the lives of all 3 children, he arranged their lifeless bodies in a grim line. With a chilling calmness, he then sat on his front porch, as if nothing had transpired, while Laura lay inside, grappling with the aftermath of unimaginable tragedy. Desperation echoed through the air as cries for help pierced the silence, a haunting plea that lingered long after the 911 call was made. The clock struck 4:25 p.m. when the police finally arrived at the scene, but what awaited them was a chilling reality. As the police arrived at the scene, they found Chad seated on the porch of his home, a rifle resting ominously beside him. The officers swiftly apprehended him, placing him in handcuffs without a struggle. Chad remained eerily calm, showing no signs of resistance as one officer kept a watchful eye on him while the other rushed to the aid of the 3 victims. Paramedics worked desperately to save the children, but tragedy struck as all 3 succumbed to their gunshot wounds. In the aftermath, Laura was transported to the University of Cincinnati, her fate hanging in the balance. In a chilling tale of betrayal and violence, Alexis, Chad Dorman's stepdaughter, emerged as a survivor from the harrowing events of June 15, 2023. On that fateful day, she narrowly escaped the horrors that unfolded within the walls of their home, where Chad had taken the lives of his 3 sons. When law enforcement apprehended him, he exhibited an unsettling calmness, his demeanor shockingly polite, as if the gravity of his actions had not registered. As the interrogation unfolded, the facade began to crack. Chad revealed to the investigators that the sinister plot had been brewing in his mind since October 2022, a chilling admission that left the detectives grappling with the depths of his depravity. For days, he lay awake, haunted by the unbearable thought of taking the lives of his own sons. This chilling revelation cast a dark shadow over his mental state in the lead up to the tragic events that would soon unfold. As the investigation deepened, detectives sought to uncover any history of violence that might explain his actions. They meticulously combed through his phone records, only to discover a pattern of mundane traffic violations in Claremont County, punctuated by a solitary incident from his youth, a moment of criminal damage when he was just 18. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary life, something sinister was brewing. In 2010, a domestic violence case emerged, casting a shadow over Chad Dorman's life. He stood accused of choking his father, Keith Dorman. However, the case unraveled when Keith failed to appear in court, leaving the prosecution without a key witness. This incident opened a window into Chad's troubled legal history and his tumultuous interactions with law enforcement in the county. As the investigation unfolded, a neighbor named Richard Cunanan shared his observations with a news channel. He described a man consumed by rage, a man who unleashed his anger daily, never missing an opportunity to yell at his wife and children. The atmosphere was thick with tension, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors. She was downgrading the kids, her anger palpable, and if they dared to defy him, the consequences were dire. I witnessed it all, yet I never imagined he would cross that line. The woman who dialed 911 recounted her harrowing experience in an interview, her voice trembling as she described running with her little black lab, desperately screaming for help. "Call 911! Call 911!" she pleaded, revealing the chilling truth. Her stepfather was shooting everyone in their home. Investigators delved into the family's background, probing for signs of financial strain. They uncovered details from the county auditor's website, revealing that Dorman had made a purchase that would soon become part of a much darker narrative. In 2016, a converted manufactured home nestled on 3 sprawling acres changed hands for a mere $75,000. The records reveal a steady stream of property tax payments, extending all the way to 2023, suggesting that the mortgage was being managed without a hitch. But then, the narrative took a dark turn. Detectives sought out Keith Dorman, the father of the 9-year-old boy at the center of this chilling tale. Stricken with disbelief, he struggled to process the horror of his child's actions. "I'm still trying to comprehend," he confessed to the investigators, his voice trembling. He spoke of an unseen turmoil in his son's life, a weight too heavy for the young boy to bear. "I can't talk," he uttered, the words hanging in the air like a haunting echo of despair. "They won't let me speak to him, leaving me in the dark, grasping for answers. It's likely he concealed much from me." His father, with tears in his eyes, painted a picture of a good kid, his voice heavy with anguish over the unfolding tragedy. "I don't know if it was financial, mental, or work-related," he lamented, desperately searching for reasons. He described his son as a fun-loving guy, insisting he had never crossed paths with the law. Yet, there was a shadow lurking in that statement. For the truth was more complicated than it appeared, as his son had faced brushes with the law before. In a quiet community, the air was thick with disbelief as the news of the killings spread like wildfire. Legal troubles had shadowed Chad Dorman in the past, but both cases had been dismissed, leaving a veil of mystery over his actions. Neighbors, who once viewed him as a devoted father, were left reeling, their shock palpable. They had seen the carefully curated images on social media, the warm conversations that painted a picture of a caring man. Yet, as the investigation unfolded, it became clear that all eyes were on Chad. Authorities were determined to peel back the layers of this tragic event, seeking to understand the dark motives that lay beneath the surface of a seemingly ordinary life. In a chilling turn of events, Chad found himself entangled in a web of accusations that would forever alter the course of his life. Initially, he confessed to the heinous acts, his words spilling forth during the interrogation like a dam breaking. Yet, As the courtroom doors swung open on June 23rd, 2023, a transformation took place. The man who once admitted his guilt now stood resolute, proclaiming his innocence with a plea of not guilty. The atmosphere was thick with tension as he sat there, visibly shaken, clad in a green bulletproof vest that seemed to symbolize the weight of his predicament. Tears streamed down his face as the chief prosecutor, David Gast, recounted the horrific events of June 15th, each word a dagger, piercing through the silence of the courtroom and echoing the tragedy that had unfolded. The courtroom in Claremont County echoed with chilling revelations as the prosecutor laid bare the sinister details of the case. It was revealed that Chad had meticulously orchestrated the horrific events that unfolded. One of his sons, in a desperate bid for freedom, attempted to flee into a nearby field, but Chad, relentless and determined, pursued the boy, dragging him back to the yard where a tragic fate awaited him and his brothers. The prosecutor, with a voice heavy with gravity, described Chad's actions as some of the most monstrous and cowardly acts one could ever witness, a dark stain on the fabric of humanity. The bill of particulars filed in Claremont served as a grim testament to the horrors that transpired, leaving the community grappling with the aftermath of such unspeakable violence. The courtroom was thick with tension as the prosecutor laid bare the chilling details of the case. He recounted how Chad, with a cold and calculated demeanor, lined up the boys before pulling the trigger. The words echoed ominously as he revealed that even Chad had confessed to planning the horrific act. The prosecutor painted a grim picture of a mother who, in a desperate attempt to protect her children, was met with violence herself, shot in the hand. The father, a victim of Chad's relentless fury, was struck 9 times, leaving a scene of unimaginable devastation. One boy fell after a single shot, while the other 2 endured the brutality of being shot 4 times each. Mark Tech, the prosecutor, delivered the harrowing narrative to the judge, exposing the depths of Chad's cruelty. In a chilling turn of events, a father committed the unthinkable. He killed his 3 sons. The aftermath left both family and community reeling in disbelief, a haunting state of shock that echoed through their lives. Prosecutor Mark Techlove revealed that Chad, the man at the center of this horror, confessed to the crime, uttering the chilling words, "I did it. Take me to jail. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have shot them." During the interrogation, Chad's guilty plea was unmistakable, and Techlove made it clear. He sought the ultimate punishment, the death penalty. With unwavering resolve, the prosecutor vowed to pursue justice, insisting that nothing less than Chad Dorman's execution would suffice in the wake of such a tragic and brutal act. During a court hearing, Techlove spoke to a news channel, describing the case as the most sickening and horrifying crime he had ever encountered. He could only fathom the terror that those innocent little boys experienced as their father, the very person meant to protect them, turned into their executioner. With a grim determination, he vowed that his office would do everything in its power to ensure that this defendant would never see the light of day again. He began by extending his deepest sympathies to the family, acknowledging the unspeakable tragedy they had endured. However, he refrained from delving into further details, as the case involved the death penalty. In a chilling pursuit of justice, the aim is clear: to see this man face the ultimate penalty for the brutal slaughter of 3 innocent boys. Techlove has echoed this sentiment, driven by the haunting memory of that incomprehensible act of horror inflicted upon a grieving family. Initially, Chad was confronted with a staggering 21 charges stemming from the tragic events of June 15th, 2023. He stands accused of executing 3 young lives: 4-year-old Hunter, 7-year-old Clayton, and 3-year-old Chase, in a manner that chills the very soul. The details are harrowing, and the quest for accountability is relentless. In a chilling turn of events, A grand jury has handed down an indictment against Chad Dorman, encompassing a staggering 21 counts. Among these are 9 counts of aggravated murder, 8 counts of kidnapping, and 4 counts of felonious assault. The gravity of these charges looms large, as Dorman now faces the harrowing possibility of the death penalty should he be convicted. Initially, the charges laid against him mirrored this dark reality, highlighting the severity of the allegations tied to the tragic deaths of his children. The Claremont County Municipal stands as the backdrop to this unfolding nightmare. In a courtroom heavy with tension, Judge Jason Nagel made a fateful decision. Chad Dorman would remain behind bars in the Claremont County Jail, his bail set at an astonishing $20 million. The air was thick with anticipation as the judge declared that bonds would be established at this staggering amount, whether in cash or surety. Mr. Gaston and Mr. Callum exchanged glances, the weight of the moment palpable. As the proceedings unfolded, it became clear that Dorman's bond was not just a number. It was a record, the highest ever imposed in the county's storied history. In a subsequent hearing, Dorman's lawyer made a desperate plea, urging the court to reconsider the death penalty looming over his client. The stakes had never been higher, and the courtroom held its breath, waiting for the next chapter in this chilling saga. On that fateful day, June 15th, 2023, a tragedy unfolded that would forever haunt Claremont County. Chad Dorman, a man whose mind was said to be ensnared by a serious mental illness, committed an unspeakable act. He shot and killed his 3 young sons. Now, more than 9 months later, he has shifted his plea to guilty by reason of insanity, a move that has sent ripples through the legal community. Prosecutors allege that Dorman executed his children in cold blood, but the narrative is far from straightforward. Experts are set to revisit Dorman's mental state during that harrowing moment, as his defense attorney argues that to execute someone who is seriously mentally ill is not just a moral failing, but a violation of both the Ohio and United States constitutions. The courtroom drama continues to unfold, leaving a community grappling with the aftermath of unimaginable loss. In a chilling twist of fate, the accused, grappling with profound mental illness at the time of the alleged crime, stands at the crossroads of morality and justice. Dorman has boldly entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, a defense that sends ripples through the courtroom. The prosecution, however, is not backing down. They have demanded a mental evaluation, setting the stage for a dramatic showdown. A court date looms on May 3rd, 2024, where the air will be thick with tension as the judge considers the lawyer's request. Meanwhile, Chad's legal team has committed to presenting a report from a mental health expert by June 3rd, 2024, a crucial piece of evidence to bolster their claim of his mental instability at the time of the crime. The echoes of another court hearing on March 24th still linger, a reminder of the complex web of mental health and accountability that will unfold in the days to come. In a courtroom filled with tension, Chad's legal team laid bare their argument. The Claremont County Sheriff's deputies had trampled on his Miranda rights during the arrest. The judge, after careful consideration, delivered a pivotal ruling on Friday, declaring that Chad Dorman's confession, extracted during a contentious interrogation, would be dismissed. The judge identified 2 critical violations of the defendant's rights: the police's failure to deliver the full Miranda warnings and their relentless questioning even after Chad had requested an attorney. The prosecution, undeterred, brought forth a series of witnesses, each adding layers to this unfolding drama. As the police officers arrived at the scene, they were compelled to recount their chilling encounters with Chad. The prosecutors noted that nearly every interaction between Chad and the sheriff's deputies, as well as the detectives, had been meticulously recorded. The courtroom fell silent as the first witness took the stand: Claremont County Deputy Chad Mann, a seasoned K-9 handler. He recounted the harrowing moment he was the first officer on the scene. Approaching Chad's home, Deputy Mann was struck by a haunting sight: The defendant, eerily calm, sat on the porch, a rifle ominously resting beside him. The tension hung thick in the air as they made their way to the sheriff's office, the weight of the encounter lingering heavily in their minds. In the dimly lit interrogation room, tension hung thick in the air as the deputy struggled to decipher the frantic shouts of the man before him. Yet, amidst the chaos, a chilling clarity emerged when Chad's voice cut through the noise, unmistakably demanding, "Take me to jail." Detective Michael Ross, a seasoned investigator from the Claremont County Sheriff's Office, took the stand, recounting the moments that would haunt him. He noted how Chad seemed aware of the gravity of the situation, responding with a simple "yep" before the detective could even finish reading his rights. As the questioning unfolded, Chad vehemently denied the unthinkable act of taking his son's lives. But then, in a twist that sent shivers down Ross's spine, Chad uttered something that would linger in the minds of all present. A statement that the detective deemed crucial to unraveling the dark mystery at hand. In the dimly lit interrogation room, Detective Ross recalled the chilling words that slipped from Chad's lips during his testimony. "The Bible says you kill your firstborn, your secondborn, and your thirdborn. But first, you kill your wife," he had uttered, a haunting declaration that lingered in the air. Yet, as the tension thickened, Chad vehemently denied the accusation, insisting, "I didn't kill my wife." The atmosphere crackled with unease as the suspect, now in custody, made a clear request for legal representation. In a detective's experience, when someone explicitly asks for a lawyer, the questioning halts. But in this case, Chad's words were anything but clear, leaving the detective to navigate the murky waters of doubt and suspicion. "But you mentioned that you attempted to clarify the situation," stating that according to court documents, Chad requested a lawyer as soon as the questioning began. Yet, the detective chose to ignore his plea. It's a well-known fact, except perhaps to the detectives involved, that when a custodial interrogation is in progress and a suspect explicitly states, "I want a lawyer," it is not a prompt for further questioning. It is not an invitation for the officer to probe into name, rank, and serial number. In the dimly lit interrogation room, the tension hung thick in the air. The lawyer, a figure of authority, signaled the moment to halt the proceedings. The motion to suppress revealed a chilling detail. Detective Ross had left Chad alone. A calculated pause before returning to the relentless questioning, seemingly oblivious to Chad's desperate plea for legal counsel. When pressed by the defense, Detective Ross admitted he had not fully recited Chad's Miranda rights. Instead, he claimed to have touched on the most important parts, a vague assurance that left more questions than answers. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as the defense lawyer confronted Ross, demanding clarity on whether he had recited the rights verbatim from the state exhibit. The detective's response was a stark admission. No, he had not. The air crackled with the weight of unspoken truths as the trial unfolded like a dark narrative, each revelation more gripping than the last. It seems there were some crucial details omitted, doesn't it? After an extensive court hearing, the presiding judge, Richard Fentz, ruled that the investigators had failed to adhere to proper protocol during Chad's arrest in June 2023. He emphasized that Chad's Miranda rights were not upheld. Furthermore, Chad's legal team argued that he had requested an attorney on at least 2 occasions during a grueling 3-hour interrogation. Yet his pleas were disregarded as the questioning continued relentlessly. The defense also contended that Chad's earlier guilty plea was a result of this intense pressure. Under the weight of scrutiny from investigators, a pivotal moment unfolded in the courtroom. The judge, after careful consideration, ruled that the detectives had failed to adequately inform Chad of his rights prior to the interrogation. As a result, any statements he made during that tense encounter would be rendered inadmissible in the upcoming court proceedings. This unexpected legal twist not only complicated the trajectory of Chad's trial, but also narrowed the scope of evidence that could be wielded against him. The implications were profound, prolonging the legal battle and igniting a fervent public fascination with the case's outcome. With the specter of the death penalty looming over Dorman, the stakes had never been higher. If he is convicted, the stage is set for a trial in July, but a recent ruling has thrown a wrench into the proceedings. This is monumental news that could pivot the entire case. A final court hearing for Chad is scheduled for June 14th, just shy of the first anniversary of the tragic events. His trial is anticipated to commence on July 8th, 2024. But lurking in the shadows is the question that haunts investigators. What drove him to commit such heinous acts? The authorities remain tight-lipped about the motive behind Chad's actions. The reasons for the brutal shooting of Clayton Hunter and Chase remain shrouded in mystery, leaving some to speculate that the intent was to inflict deep emotional pain. In a chilling tale of betrayal and heartbreak, a 34-year-old man stands accused of taking the life of his wife, driven by a suspicion of infidelity that remains unproven. Today, the community gathered for a somber memorial ride dedicated to the Dortmund boys, a poignant fundraiser that drew hundreds, all united in their grief and support for the family left behind. As the father of the boys awaits trial for their tragic murders, the townspeople rally together, believing this fundraiser is a small gesture amidst the overwhelming sorrow. A 15-mile ride through New Richmond unfolded, with nearly 1,000 participants, all led by Alan Easterday, who organized this heartfelt tribute. In a somber yet vibrant display of community spirit, a motorcycle, jeep, and car ride drew over 100 participants, all united to raise funds for a grieving family. Just a day later, on June 26th, a memorial service unfolded at the First Baptist Church of Glen Estee, where attendees donned bright colors as a heartfelt tribute to the 3 boys whose lives were tragically cut short. As the hours ticked by, the community found itself grappling with the haunting reality of the shootings, struggling to comprehend the loss of such innocent lives. Support surged in from family, friends, classmates, and first responders, enveloping Monroe Township in a wave of compassion. Yet the shadows of grief lingered, with no signs of relief in sight. In Monroe Township, a somber gathering unfolds as the community comes together to honor the memory of 3 young boys whose lives were tragically cut short. Among the heartfelt tributes is a candlelight vigil held at the elementary school that the eldest boy once attended. Rachel Brown, a co-founding organizer, has taken it upon herself to launch a GoFundMe campaign aimed at covering the funeral expenses for the 3 children. The response has been overwhelming, with donations soaring to nearly $180,000, far exceeding the original goal Rachel had set. The outpouring of support speaks volumes about the impact these boys had on their community. In a heart-wrenching post, she shared the devastating news that the children's mother, whom she considered a sister, had lost her 3 precious babies just yesterday. The pain is insurmountable, and nothing can truly ease the sorrow. Yet, she implores anyone who can find it in their hearts to help alleviate the financial strain brought on by this unimaginable tragedy. No one should ever have to endure such a loss. Meanwhile, the question lingers in the air. Where is Chad Dorman now? He remains in custody at Claremont County Jail, with his case still unfolding, leaving many to ponder the chilling question: why did he do it? How can a parent commit such an unspeakable act against their own flesh and blood? The chilling reality of this question lingers in the air, shrouded in mystery. Yet, the community clings to hope, believing that justice will ultimately prevail and the truth will emerge from the shadows. As they grapple with the unimaginable loss of 3 innocent boys, the collective heartache is palpable. In the face of such tragedy, the desire for healing and resolution grows stronger, uniting the community in their quest for justice. This harrowing incident has sparked urgent conversations about the complexities of family dynamics, the importance of mental health, and the vital role communities play in supporting one another during dark times. In a chilling turn of events, a community once vibrant with life found itself shrouded in darkness following the tragic demise of Maria Munoz on September 22, 2020. Her untimely death sent shockwaves through her family and friends, leaving them grappling with disbelief. As the investigation unfolded, the unthinkable became reality. Maria's own husband emerged as the prime suspect. What had initially seemed like a senseless act of violence soon unraveled into a tangled web of secrets and betrayal, leaving those who loved Maria reeling in heartbreak and confusion. In the bustling state of Texas, a shocking event unfolded that sent ripples of disbelief through the community. Maria Munoz, a young and vibrant woman brimming with dreams, met a tragic end that shattered her family and friends. The events leading to her unexpected death on September 22, 2020, left many reeling, especially when suspicions began to swirl around her own husband as a potential suspect. The narrative took a sinister twist when toxicology reports revealed the presence of 7 different drugs in her system. Even more chilling was the discovery that Maria's journal held the key evidence that would ultimately help unravel the mystery surrounding her demise. In a chilling twist of fate, the words penned by Maria would become a crucial thread in the unraveling of a dark mystery. As the investigation unfolded, hidden truths began to emerge, exposing a narrative that no one could have anticipated. Maria Munoz, born on January 25, 1989, was one of 3 children born to Marisol Rodriguez and Jorge Luis Munoz. Her childhood, steeped in the warmth of a loving Puerto Rican home, was shattered by the early death of her mother. It was during this tumultuous time that she crossed paths with Joel Pellet. Yet, despite the weight of her grief, Maria stepped into the role of caregiver, a testament to her resilience in the face of adversity. Siblings Marisol Munoz and Peter Hernandez Maria first crossed paths in a vibrant backdrop of Puerto Rico, Maria's homeland. At that time, Pellet was a nursing student brimming with ambition, while Maria had already carved out her own path as a nurse. Despite an age difference of 11 years, their bond deepened, culminating in marriage in 2011. They soon relocated to Laredo, Texas, where Pellet landed a prestigious role as a nurse anesthetist at a local hospital, earning a substantial income. This newfound financial stability opened the doors to a life of luxury, filled with the trappings of success. Luxury cars and extravagant vacations. Maria Munoz, aged 31, lived in Laredo, Texas, as a full-time mother caring for her 2 young sons, and her husband Joel Pellet, age 42. She left her job just to take good care of her children. Maria, a loving stay-at-home mom, cherished her 2 young boys every day. She would take them to the park to play and read to them before bedtime, showing her dedication as a mother while she enjoyed being. At home with her children, she also found joy in playing the piano as a hobby despite her happiness as in the quiet corners of suburban life. A stay-at-home mom clung to her dream of returning to school, yearning to don a nurse's scrubs once more. For a time, everything seemed idyllic. Her husband, Pet, would boast to friends and colleagues, sharing snapshots of his beautiful wife and their children, painting a picture of domestic bliss. Yet, beneath this veneer of happiness, shadows began to creep in. In 2018, shortly after Maria gave birth to their second son, those closest to Pet started to notice a chilling change in him. A transformation was underway, one that would unravel the very fabric of their lives. As the transformation unfolded, he shed pounds and sculpted muscles. But it wasn't just his physique that was changing. His demeanor shifted too. He became more sociable, engaging in flirtations that raised eyebrows among those who knew him. The once devoted husband began to erase traces of his family from his online presence, swapping cherished family photos for solitary snapshots that painted a picture of independence. This digital metamorphosis suggested a man unshackled from the ties of matrimony, living a life free from the weight of family obligations. Colleagues couldn't help but notice his growing camaraderie with a particular woman, a development that hinted at deeper undercurrents beneath the surface of his seemingly carefree existence. In the shadows of a seemingly perfect marriage, a surgical nurse named Janet Arando became the unwitting accomplice in a tale of betrayal. Over time, whispers of a clandestine affair between her and Maria's husband, Pellet, began to swirl, hidden beneath the surface of their everyday lives. But in early 2020, the facade shattered when Maria stumbled upon airline tickets, evidence of a planned escape to Europe for Pellet and Janet. The revelation struck like a dagger, leaving Maria heartbroken and drowning in despair. She had placed her trust in him, believing their decade-long union was unbreakable. Instead, she was left to grapple with the haunting realization that the life they had constructed together was nothing more than an elaborate deception. The weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air, and Maria found herself lost in a world turned upside down, unsure of how to navigate the wreckage of her dreams. In the shadows of her emotional turmoil, Maria found herself adrift, grappling with the haunting reality of her crumbling marriage. Desperate for solace, she reached out to a therapist who offered her a lifeline in the form of medication to help navigate the storm within. As the weight of her struggles bore down on her, she turned to the pages of her journal, pouring out her heart in ink, seeking clarity amidst the chaos. But the situation with Pet only grew more dire. On that fateful day, September 19th, 2020, Maria drove to Janet's house, her heart racing as she spotted Pet's car parked ominously in the driveway. With a mix of dread and determination, she confronted them, unaware of the explosive confrontation that awaited her inside. In a tense standoff, Maria confronted him, forcing a choice between her and Janet. His answer was swift and cutting. He would choose Janet. The argument escalated, and in a moment of desperation, Janet called the police. But by the time they arrived, Maria and Pellet had vanished into the night. The police tried to piece together the chaos, reached out to Maria, only to hear Pellet's furious shouts echoing in the background. When they finally returned home, the tension erupted. In a fit of rage, he smashed his fist through Maria's car windshield, a chilling testament to his volatile anger. The next morning, on that fateful Sunday, September 20th, Maria sent Pellet a text, laying bare her intentions amidst the turmoil that surrounded them. In a twist of fate, the man initially advised against hiring a lawyer, convinced that the costs would spiral out of control. But just hours after their exchange, a shadow of doubt crept into his mind. He reached out to Maria, pouring out his heart in an email that dripped with sorrow and confusion. "I am so sad," he confessed, revealing the turmoil that churned within him. He longed for a moment of clarity, a chance to sit down with her, free from the weight of conflict, to talk openly about their shared pain. In a moment that felt charged with unspoken tension, Maria responded to his email. They settled on a time, a fateful rendezvous set for approximately 5 p.m., where intentions would collide and secrets might unravel. On the fateful night of Monday, September 21st, the air was thick with tension as she prepared to meet him. Anxiety gnawed at her, prompting a desperate message to her friend Yasmin Martinez, pleading for prayers. "I just ask if you can pray for me," she typed, unaware that those words would echo in the silence of a night that would soon turn tragic. As the clock ticked towards the meeting, the atmosphere shifted ominously. Just a day later, on September 22nd, 2020, a frantic call shattered the stillness. Pellet dialed 911, his voice trembling with fear as he reported that his wife might have swallowed prescription pills and was no longer breathing. The horror of that moment loomed large, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can descend in an instant. It was a chilling hour, 1:40 a.m., when Officer de la Cruz arrived at Pet's house, the first to respond to the unfolding mystery that awaited within those walls. As the body cam captured the chilling scene, the officer discovered Pellet at the top of the stairs, clad in his green hospital scrubs, desperately performing CPR on his wife. Their two sons lay obliviously asleep in nearby rooms, unaware of the unfolding tragedy. The moment the paramedics arrived, they swiftly took over the life-saving efforts on Maria, while first responders worked tirelessly to bring her back from the brink. Meanwhile, another officer approached Pellet, seeking answers about the pills she had mentioned, adding another layer to this harrowing tale. Without a moment's pause, Pellet made his way to a nearby bathroom, rifling through the medicine cabinet with a sense of urgency. He emerged, handing a bottle to the officers who would soon uncover its contents. A prescription for clonazepam, a benzodiazepine notorious for its role in managing acute anxiety, panic attacks, and even epilepsy. These medications, like clonazepam, are designed to slow the nervous system, creating a deceptive calm in the storm of chaos. But as the officer scrutinized the label, a chilling realization struck. This prescription was not for Maria, but for Pellet himself, adding another layer to the unfolding mystery. It was the pill bottle, returned to the medicine cabinet, that first piqued the officer's interest. In overdose cases, the bottle is usually found close to the victim, a grim reminder of the tragedy that unfolded. But here, the body camera captured a different scene. Pellet nonchalantly picking up the pill container from the floor and slipping it into his pocket. D. La Cruz couldn't shake the nagging question. Why would he take the pills? Was he hiding something sinister? The plot thickened when La Cruz stumbled upon a needle catheter lying on the stairs, a chilling detail in the couple's home that hinted at deeper, darker secrets lurking just beneath the surface. It struck him as peculiar. Pellet and Maria, parents to two young children, found a needle lying ominously on the stairs, prompting unsettling questions about its presence in their home. But the needle was just the beginning. Investigators soon unearthed more than they bargained for: syringes and an array of equipment, all meticulously organized within a medical bag. While one might dismiss this as routine, given Pellet's role as an anesthesia nurse, the sight of such medical paraphernalia outside the sterile confines of a clinic sent a chill down the spines of those piecing together the mystery. The circumstances surrounding Pellet's life were anything but ordinary. He informed the officers that Maria had been grappling with profound depression in recent times. He explained how her mental health had been slipping away, driving her to take the pills in a desperate attempt to manage her crushing emotions. Despite the valiant efforts of the first responders, Maria could not be revived. It's difficult to fathom, but by 3:58 a.m., it was all over. On that fateful day, the chilling news broke. Maria was pronounced dead. As the officers moved Pellet downstairs to the kitchen for further questioning, he recounted the events that led to that tragic moment. He spoke of a conversation shared with Maria, a moment that escalated into intimacy. After their encounter, he stepped into the shower, a mundane act that would soon be overshadowed by horror. Upon emerging, he found Maria peacefully asleep, or so he thought. He wandered downstairs for a time, the reasons for which remained shrouded in mystery. But when he returned upstairs, the scene that awaited him was one of unimaginable despair. Maria lay unresponsive, her breath extinguished. The officer listened intently as Pellet recounted the harrowing details of that day, each word steeped in the weight of loss and unanswered questions. As the investigation unfolded, the peculiar behavior of Pet caught the attention of the officers. He was drenched in sweat, a stark contrast to the calm demeanor of those around him. including the first responder who had tirelessly fought to save Maria's life for 2 grueling hours. Pet struggled to articulate even the simplest details about the incident, his anxiety palpable. This alarming display only deepened the officer's suspicions, prompting them to delve deeper into his story. Sergeant Luis escorted him to the police station, where Pet was left alone in the stark interrogation room, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Before the officer entered, every moment was captured on video. When the footage was reviewed, the officers were taken aback by the sudden transformation of Pellet. He erupted into a frenzy, screaming and crying, his fists pounding against the walls and furniture flying through the air. The chaos was so intense that it sent shivers down the spines of those in the hallway and nearby rooms, their hearts racing at the cacophony of voices echoing through the building. In the stillness of the night, as the clock struck 4 a.m., the atmosphere thickened with an unsettling tension, hinting at the secrets that lay hidden within those 4 walls. As Sergeant Luis entered the dimly lit room, the air thick with tension, he prepared to unravel the chilling narrative surrounding Maria's tragic demise. In a moment of unexpected candor, he recounted the harrowing events that had transpired. But what came next was even more shocking. He confessed to the officer about his entanglement with another woman, Janet. With a heavy heart, he disclosed that he had abandoned his family home 5 months prior, taking refuge in Janet's arms. Their affair had blossomed over 2 years, and Maria, he claimed, had been painfully aware of the betrayal. As he continued, the haunting details of that fateful night began to emerge, each revelation more unsettling than the last. As he made his way to the family home, he intended to have a heart-to-heart with her about their marriage. After their conversation, intimacy ensued. He believed Maria was peacefully asleep in her room, but just 10 minutes later, when he returned to check on her, he was met with a horrifying sight. She lay unresponsive. In a moment of desperation, he later confessed to the officer that he had given Maria the medication prescribed to him, clonazepam, to alleviate her anxiety and depression. Yet, when pressed for details, he faltered, unable to recall how many pills she had taken or how many remained in the bottle. The shadows of that night loomed large, shrouded in uncertainty and regret. Before she accessed them, he was unfortunately unable to provide any additional information to help clarify the situation. After all the questioning, he was released. The next step was to conduct Maria's autopsy. Just 8 hours after her death, the autopsy took place, a relatively swift response in the wake of tragedy. This timing suggested that whatever had caused her demise would still be detectable in her stomach contents. As the investigation into Maria's death intensified, the autopsy results delivered a shocking revelation, contrary to all expectations. Initial suspicions were met with a chilling revelation. No traces of pills were found in her stomach. Yet, the medical examiner's report unveiled a shocking clue: a small red mark on the inside of her elbow. What made this discovery even more unsettling was that it appeared to be a pinprick mark. This tiny, ominous mark raised grave concerns, hinting that she may have been injected with something sinister. This unexpected finding propelled investigators to delve deeper into the significance of the mark and its potential link to her untimely demise. Soon, they uncovered yet another unsettling detail from Maria's house, leading them further down a dark and twisted path of inquiry. A journal was discovered at Maria's residence, a detail previously noted, revealing a poignant glimpse into her struggle with anxiety and depression. In an attempt to navigate her turbulent emotions, she began to write, and those pages became a crucial resource for investigators. What they unearthed within that journal was nothing short of heartbreaking. Maria poured her thoughts and experiences onto the paper, and through her words, the investigators learned of her deep love for her husband. She yearned to maintain their family, even as she acknowledged his desire to be with another. Her writings painted a vivid picture of a woman caught in a web of love and despair. In the quiet pages of her journal, Maria poured out her soul, chronicling the profound heartbreak that enveloped her when Pellet abandoned their Laredo home, leaving her to shoulder the weight of caring for their two young sons alone. Her diary, along with recordings on her cell phone, became crucial evidence for investigators, revealing the dark undercurrents of her husband's abusive behavior. Each entry captured her emotional odyssey, a poignant transition from the depths of grief to a flicker of healing and a glimmer of newfound hope for the future. In one haunting passage, she wrote, "I don't want to be sad anymore. I don't want my heart to hurt. I don't want my mind to be in torture. Please, I beg you, O Lord," just a day before her tragic fate would unfold. In the chilling pages of her journal, Maria Munoz penned a haunting question: "What is it that I want?" The entries from the day before her untimely death revealed a soul yearning for life, a spirit eager to forge ahead. There was no trace of despair, no inkling of suicidal thoughts, only a fervent desire to embrace the future. As investigators delved into her writings, they were struck by the absence of any signs that would suggest she had taken her own life. The mystery deepened, compelling them to seek further answers. Enter Dr. John Hunsinger, Maria's former employer, whose connection to the unfolding tragedy would soon become pivotal in unraveling the truth behind her final days. As the anesthesiologist delved into the autopsy findings, a sense of urgency gripped him. He reached out to the lead detective, De La Cruz, voicing his deep concerns. Dr. Hunsinger urged the investigators to pursue a thorough toxicology screening, a recommendation that would soon prove pivotal. In January 2021, investigators Sergeant Luis Matt and De La Cruz finally received the long-anticipated toxicology test results. Contrary to Pett's assertion regarding clonazepam, the report revealed that Maria had never ingested that drug. Yet, the toxicology report unveiled a shocking revelation that would send ripples through the investigation. In the shadowy world of medicine, a chilling truth emerges: the presence of 7 potent drugs: morphine, Demerol, Versed, Propofol, ketamine, lidocaine, and Naren. These substances, often wielded in the sterile confines of surgical rooms, hold the power to sedate and manage pain. Propofol and ketamine, in particular, are administered intravenously, their effects both profound and unsettling. For most, these drugs remain elusive, hidden behind the walls of specialized practice. Even seasoned nurses and medical professionals may never encounter the likes of propofol and ketamine unless they tread the treacherous path of anesthesiology. The presence of propofol, a silent player in this high-stakes drama, beckons further scrutiny. In the chilling depths of the investigation, the discovery within Maria's body sent shockwaves through the team. They had long suspected Pellet, a nurse anesthetist, would possess the means to access propofol, given his profession. When Dr. Hunsinger, a colleague of Pellet's with extensive experience in administering the drug, examined the staggering amount found in Maria's system, he was taken aback. It was the highest concentration he had ever seen. This revelation led the doctors to a grim conclusion. Propofol was likely the harbinger of Maria's demise. They couldn't shake the unsettling thought that Pellet, with his knowledge of dosages, could easily manipulate the line between sedation and fatal overdose. Additionally, a small mark on Maria's arm hinted at a sinister possibility: an injection of a lethal substance. Investigators, piecing together the toxicological report, Pett's suspicious behavior, and the chilling entries in Maria's journal, felt they had amassed enough evidence to charge Pellet with the murder of his wife. With determination, authorities swiftly secured an arrest warrant. De La Cruz, relentless in his pursuit of justice, wasted no time in apprehending Pellet. To everyone's surprise, he offered no resistance, as if he had foreseen this moment and resigned himself to his impending fate. Soon, He was taken into custody, the weight of his actions looming over him like a dark cloud. In the dimly lit police station, a new chapter in the investigation began to unfold. Law enforcement officials braced themselves to question him once more about the harrowing events that led to Maria Munoz's tragic demise. He was about to confront the grim reality of his actions. The trial commenced on March 21st, 2023, and as the legal drama played out, both the prosecution and defense took center stage. The prosecution, an all-female team dubbed Maria's team, wielded Maria Munoz's poignant journal entries like weapons, crafting a compelling narrative against him. In a chilling courtroom drama, the jury was presented with a portrait of Maria, a devoted wife and mother, painted by the prosecutors who described her as caring and intelligent. They spoke of her vibrant spirit, a light that flickered through the pages of her journal, revealing the depths of her character. Yet, beneath this facade of domestic bliss, a sinister plot was unfolding. The prosecutors laid bare their suspicions that Pellet had first drugged Maria, slipping a substance in her drink to lull her into a deep sleep. Once she was unconscious, he callously injected her with propofol, a move that sent shivers down the spines of those present. The chilling detail emerged that Pellet waited an agonizingly long time before dialing 911, raising the specter of premeditation in a case that would haunt the courtroom long after the gavel fell. When the first responders arrived, it was already too late. They could not revive her. The prosecutors revealed that the journals provided a haunting glimpse into the struggles Maria faced, igniting their relentless pursuit of justice in her tragic case. During the final arguments, Pet's lawyer, Roberto Bali, stood before the jurors, revealing his client's desire to reconcile with Maria Munoz before her untimely death. Bali urged the jury to consider the medical examiner's report, which left the cause of Maria's death shrouded in uncertainty, asserting that the evidence simply did not suffice. In a chilling unraveling of events, the prosecution laid bare the sinister connection between Pellet and the tragic demise of Maria. Bali, the relentless advocate for justice, pointed to a fateful night when Pellet administered a drug known as Naren, typically used to counteract overdoses. He painted a stark picture of two individuals ensnared by their own battles with addiction, Pellet and Munoz. Yet, Bali contended that Maria Munoz had willingly partaken the drugs, her autonomy evident in the absence of any signs of struggle on her body. However, as the investigation delved deeper into Maria's life, her social circles revealed a different narrative. Friends and family painted a portrait of a young woman untouched by addiction, leaving Pellet as the sole figure capable of introducing her to that perilous world. A substantial quantity of evidence emerged as authorities managed to persuade Pet's girlfriend, surgical nurse Janet Arando, to step into the spotlight and testify against him. In a chilling revelation, she disclosed that he had confessed to her about giving Maria something to calm her down. Furthermore, she confirmed that he had brought drugs, including propofol, home from work. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the jury deliberated, taking less than an hour to reach their verdict. After a grueling 9-day trial, on March 30th, 2023, the jury found Pet guilty of the murder of his wife, Maria. The final act of this tragic tale unfolded on April 27th, 2023, when Pet was sentenced to life in prison. The verdict was delivered, a sentence for murder, an additional decade added for the crime of tampering with evidence. But where is Pellet now? Joel Pellet, a name that echoes through the halls of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, is currently serving a life sentence, a grim reminder of his atrocious deeds. His imprisonment is not just a punishment. It stands as a testament to accountability, a solemn tribute to the life of Maria, ensuring her memory is preserved in the relentless pursuit of truth and justice. The motive behind this chilling act remains shrouded in mystery, yet the prosecution has its theories, weaving a narrative that seeks to unravel the darkness of that fateful day. In the dark shadows of a troubled marriage, Joel Pett's chilling motive for the murder of his wife, Maria Munoz, emerged, a desperate longing to escape his vows and embrace a new life with his girlfriend, Janet Arando. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the jury deliberated, knowing that justice must prevail in this harrowing tale. Their verdict echoed through the halls, a solemn reminder that accountability would not be evaded. This decision, while bittersweet, offered a glimmer of closure in a case steeped in tragedy, reinforcing the unwavering truth that such monstrous deeds will not slip through the cracks of the law. The convictions served as a stark warning. Those who dare to commit such atrocities will inevitably confront the full weight of justice. In the quiet town of Carrollton, Texas, on a fateful day, March 4th, 1992, a girl named Jacqueline, or Jackie as she would come to be known, entered the world. The youngest of two daughters, she grew up in the suburban landscapes of the colony in Frisco, surrounded by the warmth of her family. But even before she could take her first steps, Jackie was already turning heads with her remarkable ability to somersault, a skill that hinted at the extraordinary talent that lay within her. This early glimpse into her potential did not go unnoticed. By the tender age of 3, her parents had recognized the spark of greatness and enrolled her in gymnastics courses, setting the stage for a journey that would intertwine passion and ambition. In the years that followed, Jackie dedicated herself to perfecting her craft, diving headfirst into a whirlwind of competitions. Her relentless pursuit of excellence led her to achieve level 5 in the Texas State Gymnastics Association, a feat that spoke volumes of her determination. Yet, beneath the accolades and achievements lay a soul that radiated warmth and compassion. Those who crossed her path often spoke of her golden heart, a heart that beat for the well-being of others. A steadfast friend, Jackie was the kind of person who uplifted those she loved, offering words of encouragement or simply lending an ear. Her presence was a balm, bringing comfort and joy to all who were fortunate enough to know her. Jackie's kindness was a force that transcended the ordinary bounds of human relationships. Her heart overflowed with love for animals. She was a lifelong vegetarian who championed the cause of pet adoption from no-kill shelters. Her compassion knew no limits, extending to all living beings. A passionate reader, Jackie found solace in the enchanting pages of her favorite book series, Harry Potter, where she would lose herself in the spellbinding world of Hogwarts. Music was another realm where Jackie thrived, her eclectic taste weaving a tapestry that included artists like Pink, James Taylor, and Rob Thomas. Among her many passions, musicals held a special place in her heart, captivating her spirit and imagination. In the quiet town of Frisco, Jackie was a familiar face, a devoted fan who never missed a performance of the musical whenever it graced her city. After finishing her high school journey at Wakeland High School, she set her sights on a new path. Enrolling in the Paul Mitchell School for Cosmetology, she poured her heart into her training, ultimately earning her license as an esthetician. But Jackie was not one to stop there. Her thirst for knowledge led her to Texas Women's University, where she majored in nutrition and food science. She understood the vital role of good nutrition and held a steadfast belief that everyone should have access to it, a conviction that would guide her future endeavors. In a world where dreams intertwine with reality, Jackie envisioned a future steeped in nourishment and education. She sought to empower those around her, guiding them toward healthier choices. It was as if Jackie Vandergriff was destined for greatness, a college junior on a promising path to achieve her dreams and leave a lasting impact on the world. But fate had other plans. In the summer of 2016, a fateful encounter with a malevolent force would shatter her aspirations and extinguish her life. On that fateful Wednesday, September 14th, 2016, just as dawn broke, an officer with the Grapevine Police Department in Grapevine, would become a witness to the tragic unfolding of events. In the heart of Texas, a chilling call shattered the calm. The voice on the other end spoke of a grim discovery, a body found near Grapevine Lake. Without hesitation, the officer raced to the scene, driven by an urgency that only such a revelation could inspire. As he stepped into the dense woods, he noticed a faint footpath, leading him deeper into the shadows. Following this trail, he stumbled upon a charred expanse of earth, a haunting sight that sent a shiver down his spine. There, amidst the ashes, lay a plastic blue kiddie pool, an incongruous element in this macabre tableau. But it was what lay within that truly horrified him, a body grotesquely burned, rendered unrecognizable by flames. The officer's heart raced as he grappled with the grim reality before him, knowing that the identity of the victim was now a mystery shrouded in smoke and sorrow. In a chilling twist of fate, the identity of the victim remained shrouded in mystery, as the remains bore no distinguishing features to indicate age, gender, or even race. The condition of the body, severely burned, posed a significant challenge for investigators. Transported to the medical examiner's office, the charred remains held secrets waiting to be uncovered. It was through meticulous fingerprint analysis that the truth emerged. The body belonged to 24-year-old Jackie Vandergriff. As detectives pieced together the fragments of her last hours, they discovered that Jackie had been seen alive in Denton, near the college, where she had frequented 2 bars, Fry and another, just before her life was tragically cut short. At the street public house, the air was thick with tension as detectives awaited the crucial security footage from the bustling establishment. Meanwhile, the medical examiner meticulously autopsied Jackie's remains, revealing a horrifying truth. She had been killed, dismembered, decapitated, and set ablaze. The brutality didn't end there. Her body bore further mutilation post-mortem. Yet, the most chilling revelation was that her heart had been removed, a grotesque trophy for her killer. As news of Jackie's murder rippled through Denton, tips flooded in. Witnesses recounted seeing a fire at the crime scene, their eyes drawn to a suspicious figure loitering in the shadows, a potential link to the unspeakable act that had shattered the community. In a chilling turn of events, detectives finally succeeded in acquiring the CCTV footage from 2 bars that Jackie had frequented on that fateful night. The first location, the Fry Street Public House, revealed a man stepping into the bar at precisely 7 p.m., setting the stage for a haunting investigation. He lingered at the bar, a solitary figure nursing a drink, when, an hour later, Jackie entered the Fry Street Public House. As she settled onto a bar stool, the atmosphere thickened with intrigue. Jackie struck up a conversation with the bartender and the man beside her. Their exchanges caught on camera, revealing tantalizing glimpses into the nature of their connection. The footage, a silent witness, held secrets waiting to be uncovered. Approximately 45 minutes after the footage captured Jackie stepping into the Fry Street Public House, she took to her Twitter account to share a thought. Her tweet read, "Glad I decided to get off Tinder and walk to a bar." After spending a considerable amount of time at the Fry Street Public House, Jackie and the man she was with exited the bar together. Their next destination was an establishment known as Shots and Crafts, where they mingled with a group of women. It was a chilling evening. The clock struck 9:45 p.m., a time when shadows lengthened and secrets began to stir in the darkness. Jackie and the man departed together, leaving behind a trail of shots and crafts that would soon unravel a chilling mystery. Detectives meticulously combed through the CCTV footage, tracing their every move. It led them to a convenience store, where Jackie was seen entering the man's car, seemingly unharmed and at ease. But that moment would mark the last time she was ever seen alive. As the investigation deepened, detectives turned to the bartender at the Fry Street Public House. The bartender recounted how Jackie had walked in, eager to apply for a job, her demeanor friendly and hopeful, unaware of the dark fate that awaited her. In a dimly lit bar, a conversation unfolded between a man and a woman, Jackie, whose fate was about to take a dark turn. The bartender, a reluctant witness, confessed he had no knowledge of what transpired after they exited his establishment. The detectives, relentless in their pursuit of the truth, soon tracked down Jackie and a man, their faces captured on the security footage at Shots and Crafts. One of the women in their group recalled a chilling detail. She had received a business card from the man Jackie was with. He was a personal trainer, and she had exchanged contact information with him, unaware of the sinister path that lay ahead. Amidst the chaos of the investigation, a seemingly insignificant detail emerged: an interest in fitness. What appeared trivial at first would soon unravel into a pivotal breakthrough. To the detective's astonishment, the woman clutched a card tightly in her hand, ready to divulge its secrets. The name inscribed on that card? Charles Bryant. As the detectives pieced together the puzzle, they had also secured footage from Walmart, inching closer to the truth lurking in the shadows. It was the witching hour, 4 a.m., when the world lay still, cloaked in darkness and secrets. As the detectives delved deeper into the case, they uncovered a chilling detail. Charles had been seen purchasing a shovel. This revelation sent shivers down their spines as they turned their focus to the enigmatic figure of Charles Bryant, the last person known to be with Jackie before her tragic murder. Their investigation peeled back layers of his life, revealing unsettling truths. Charles Bryant, a 29-year-old man, resided a mere 20 miles from Denton, yet the city held a magnetic pull for him. What could possibly draw him there? It was a desperate attempt to rekindle a flame with his ex-girlfriend Caitlin, a student at the University of North Texas, who lived in Grapevine. The timeline of events began to weave a dark tapestry, hinting at the sinister connections that lay beneath the surface. It was a fateful day in Grapevine, Texas, when Caitlin first crossed paths with Charles Bryant. She was fresh out of high school, celebrating her graduation, and there he was, a striking figure in the restaurant where she worked as a server. Unlike the boys she had known, Charles was in his late 20s, nearly a decade her senior, and his presence was anything but ordinary. His body was a canvas of tattoos, each telling a story of its own, and his muscular build hinted at a life dedicated to fitness. A personal trainer and bartender, Charles possessed a unique blend of skills and charisma that captivated Caitlin. That summer of 2016 would mark the beginning of a complex narrative, one that would intertwine their lives in ways she could never have anticipated. Every day spent with Charles at Grapevine Lake deepened the bond between them, a magnetic pull that seemed to defy reason. Caitlin found herself entranced by her older boyfriend's mysterious persona, each moment together weaving a spell that was hard to break. Yet, not all were swept up in this romance. As Caitlin's relationship with Charles blossomed, her mother began to take notice of the significant age difference that loomed over them like a dark cloud. Concerned for her daughter's safety and future, she pressed Caitlin to reveal a picture of Charles. Initially, Caitlin was willing to defend him, but her mother's reaction was swift and unsettling, an instinctual wariness that sent shivers down Caitlin's spine. There was an unsettling feeling that washed over her as she locked eyes with him. It was as if she were peering straight into the abyss of malevolence. Caitlin's mother, sensing the danger, grew more anxious with each passing day, her maternal instincts screaming for her to intervene. She urged Caitlin to rethink her relationship with Charles, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Caitlin brushed off her mother's worries, convinced that Charles was nothing but kind. She remained blissfully unaware of the dark undercurrents that flowed beneath the facade of her seemingly innocent infatuation. Little did she realize what she believed to be a harmless romance was anything but. What began as a fairy tale quickly spiraled into a chilling nightmare. Caitlin, once filled with joy over her new romance with an older man, soon found herself ensnared in a web of doubt. As the days turned into weeks, whispers of concern echoed in her mind, urging her to heed her mother's warnings. Charles, with his charming facade, revealed a darker side. His excessive narcissism and manipulative tendencies began to surface. Caitlin felt an unsettling weight in his presence, as if his inflated self-worth was designed to diminish her own. He would often remind her, with a smirk, that no one could ever compare to him. By mid-August 2016, as Caitlin prepared to make a significant move, the shadows of her relationship loomed larger than ever. As Caitlin prepared for her first year at college in Denton, she made the difficult decision to break up with Charles. The red flags in their relationship had multiplied, becoming impossible to overlook. But the very next day, Charles appeared at her doorstep, pleading for another chance, promising he would change. Despite her better judgment, Caitlin succumbed to his charm and resumed their relationship. Yet, within a week, she packed her bags and left Grapevine behind, ready to embrace her new life in Denton. With her move, she thought she had finally severed ties with Charles for good. Little did she know, Charles was not a man who accepted rejection lightly. As August approached, the tension between them was far from over. On the 24th, the police stumbled upon Charles on the University of North Texas campus during a routine traffic stop. The officer, suspecting a DUI due to Charles's erratic driving, quickly discovered that he was not over the legal alcohol limit. However, the night took a darker turn as Charles was found to have several outstanding warrants and was released hours later. But this was not the end of his story. Hours after his release, Charles returned to the campus, knocking on Caitlin's dorm room door, a chilling feat considering he had somehow tracked her down. In a panic, Caitlin called 911, but by the time the officer arrived, Charles had already slipped away into the shadows, leaving behind an unsettling mystery. As the investigation unfolded, Caitlin recounted her growing frustration with Charles's treatment of her. It was this culmination of feelings that led her to make the difficult decision to end their relationship. But Charles, unwilling to accept her choice, dismissed her concerns entirely. In response, the police officer took action, issuing a temporary no trespass order that barred Charles from the university campus. Yet, this legal barrier did little to deter him. Driven by an obsessive need to reconnect with Caitlin, he plotted his next move. On August 31st, fate intervened as Charles unexpectedly crossed paths with Caitlin. On her first day at a new job, Caitlin's heart raced as she recognized Charles lurking in the shadows. With a mix of dread and resolve, she confronted him, demanding he leave. The tension escalated as Caitlin sought the protection of her manager, hoping to bar Charles from the premises. But the manager's response was chilling. He revealed that her request was beyond his authority, leaving Caitlin vulnerable. The unsettling incident at her workplace became too much to bear, forcing her to resign in search of safety. Yet, Charles was relentless, a dark figure determined to confront her, driven by a thirst for revenge that promised to deepen the cycle of fear that now enveloped Caitlin's life. As the shadows deepened, the atmosphere thickened with dread. Charles's obsession spiraled into a consuming darkness, leaving Caitlin's life hanging by a thread. Meanwhile, Caitlin found herself ensconced in the seemingly safe haven of her university campus, a decision that gnawed at her mother's heart with worry. Desperate for her daughter's safety, her mother urged her to come home to escape the lurking danger. Yet, Caitlin stood firm, convinced that the walls of her dormitory offered her sanctuary. But on September 6th, the facade of safety shattered when Charles returned, his relentless pursuit manifesting in a bone-chilling scene as he pounded on her door, a harbinger of the terror that awaited within. As Caitlin retreated to her room, a chilling dread enveloped her. She sought solace in her suite mate's closet, a fragile sanctuary from the storm brewing outside. From her cramped hiding place, she could hear Charles's voice, smooth yet sinister, coaxing her to emerge, promising he had something special for her. But with each word, her darkest fears took shape, twisting her thoughts into a web of horror. What could he possibly have planned? Panic surged through her veins, and in a moment of sheer desperation, she dialed 911, her heart pounding in her ears. Whispering into the phone, she feared that even the slightest sound might betray her. The dispatcher's voice, calm yet urgent, pierced through her terror, urging her to stay quiet and provide details as the shadows loomed ever closer. She was urged to speak up, but Caitlin found herself paralyzed by fear, her voice barely rising above a whisper despite the dispatcher's persistent attempts to coax her. As the minutes dragged on, the police finally arrived, but the shadow of Charles had already slipped away, leaving behind a haunting reminder of his presence. Among the remnants of that harrowing moment lay flowers and a handwritten 2-page letter addressed to Caitlin. The contents of that letter were unsettling, each word deepening the dread that enveloped the young woman in the aftermath of the incident. Officers cornered Charles just outside the campus, his attire deceptively innocent, running clothes that suggested he was merely another student out for exercise. But the truth was far darker. He was arrested for trespassing, only to be released on bail just hours later. Meanwhile, Caitlin fought to sever all ties, blocking him on her phone, email, and social media. Yet, Charles was relentless, crafting multiple accounts to ensure he could still reach her. As his obsession deepened, the police recognized the alarming escalation of his behavior. On the very next day, after Caitlin filed her petition for a protective court order, a lifeline was thrown her way. This order, a shield against further harassment, was meant to offer her some semblance of safety. Yet, even after his initial arrest, Charles was relentless, attempting to reach out to Caitlin despite the legal boundaries set before him. His persistent and unwanted communications led to a second arrest for stalking, a blatant disregard for the protective order. Just 2 weeks after his second run-in with the law, Charles found himself in handcuffs once more, marking his third arrest. He managed to post a $5,000 bond, but the cycle of intimidation was far from over. After being released from custody on bail, Charles Bryant made his way to Fry Street, a place where Caitlin often spent her time. Detectives were convinced that Charles had crossed paths with Jackie Vandergrift there, despite a mountain of circumstantial evidence tying him to Jackie's brutal murder. The detectives found themselves at a dead end. There was no physical proof to solidify their suspicions. As they assisted Caitlin with her stalking case, they couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Charles was the prime suspect in a homicide, and their concerns for Caitlin's safety loomed large. Yet, Caitlin insisted she was fine, even in the unsettling days that followed Jackie's tragic death. On September 18th, Charles sent a flurry of photos, texts, and emails, but it was a day that would soon take a dark turn. The police, acting on a protective order filed by Caitlin, arrested him for violations. While Charles sat in jail, the detectives were relentless, seeking to uncover any threads that could tie him to the mysterious death of Jackie. As they interrogated him, they presented a picture of Jackie, and Charles, with an unsettling calm, claimed he had seen her at the bar, but knew nothing more. Meanwhile, as the tension in the room thickened, investigators executed a search warrant at his home. What they discovered during that search would send chills down the spine of anyone who dared to uncover the truth. In a chilling twist, a military-style knife and a purse from Texas Woman's University, later identified as belonging to Jackie's school, emerged as key pieces of evidence. But the investigation took a darker turn when detectives discovered a kiddie pool missing from Charles's backyard, a pool that eerily matched the one where Jackie was found lifeless. To unravel the complexities of this case, the detectives sought the insights of an expert, a seasoned investigator with a wealth of experience in the minds of prolific killers. This expert, having collaborated with the Texas Rangers, understood the dangerous allure that men like Charles often felt. a compulsion to confess their heinous acts, to share the darkness that consumed them. As the initial interview unfolded, Charles sat there, a mask of indifference plastered across his face, denying any memory of Jackie. Yet, the expert, with a keen intuition honed by years of experience, sensed the undercurrents of deception swirling beneath Charles's calm exterior. It was clear to the expert that Charles was concealing something dark, something that could unravel the mystery of Jackie's fate. To break through the walls of suspicion, the expert adopted a more relaxed demeanor, transforming the sterile interrogation room into a semblance of a cozy bar where two friends might share a drink. With every word, the expert sought to dissolve the tension, to coax Charles into a state of ease, hoping that this newfound camaraderie would lead to the truth lurking just beneath the surface of his guarded facade. As the expert leaned in, he began to weave a web of potential scenarios, each one designed to test Charles's reactions. He painted Jackie as the instigator, a shadowy figure pulling the strings and driving Charles into a frenzy of frustration. With each carefully chosen tactic, the expert probed deeper, watching for any flicker of response from Charles. Yet, this delicate dance was fraught with peril. A misstep, a hint of insincerity, could shatter the fragile trust he had built. The stakes were high, and the expert knew he had to maintain his friendly facade, all while navigating the treacherous waters of human emotion and suspicion. In a dimly lit room, Sully leaned in, her voice steady yet probing, as she sought to draw out the truth from Charles during their tense interview. The expert, a keen observer of human behavior, scrutinized every flicker of emotion and subtle shift in Charles's demeanor, all while feigning a desire to help him piece together the fragmented memories of that fateful day. Under the guise of a simple memory exercise, the expert's heart raced as Charles's narrative began to morph. What started as a denial of knowledge regarding Jackie's admission gradually unraveled, revealing that he had indeed conversed with her at the Fry Street Public. The air thickened with the weight of unspoken secrets, and the truth loomed just out of reach. As she stepped into the house, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The expert, keenly aware of the stakes, shifted the conversation with Charles, opting for an unexpected tactic: ordering pizza. It was a calculated move, one that might ease the tight grip of anxiety and allow the detectives to peel back the layers of Charles's psyche, revealing the dark motive lurking behind Jackie's tragic murder. The detectives, deeply entrenched in the case, had their sights set on a singular catalyst: Charles's explosive rage directed at his ex-girlfriend, Caitlin. For 3 long hours, the interrogation unfolded, each moment dripping with the weight of unspoken truths as Charles wrestled with his own demons. In a chilling confession, Charles revealed the tragic events that led to the death of Jackie. He described a night that spiraled out of control, one that he labeled as a session of kinky sex. The scene unfolded in his car, where Jackie, in a moment of trust, requested that he choke her with an oversized zip tie he had on hand. Yet, in a twist of fate, Charles maintained that the death was purely accidental. He insisted that neither he nor Jackie had tightened the zip tie. It was as if fate had intervened. But the aftermath was grim. Following the interview, the weight of his words bore down on him, and Charles Bryant found himself charged with the murder of Jackie Vandergriff. The tragic tale of desire turned deadly had only just begun to unravel. In a chilling twist of fate, Caitlin, the ex-girlfriend, found herself scrolling through social media, her heart racing as she stumbled upon Jackie's Facebook page. To her horror, she discovered that they were inexplicably friends. Memories flooded back. She recalled receiving a friend request from Jackie's account on the very day her lifeless body was discovered. At that time, Caitlin was blissfully unaware of the unfolding tragedy. But now, a dark suspicion gnawed at her. Could her ex-boyfriend Charlie, the prime suspect in Jackie's murder, have used Jackie's phone to send that request? The plot thickened when Caitlin recalled a haunting tweet that had been sent from Jackie's account posthumously, reading, never knew I could feel. The layers of deception and betrayal began to unravel, revealing a sinister connection that would leave anyone breathless. In a chilling twist of fate, the police connected the dots back to Charles after the brutal murder of a woman. Christy, who had crossed paths with him through a dating app just a year prior, was left reeling upon learning of the charges against him. The Charles she remembered was a quiet and reserved man. Yet during their fleeting romance, she couldn't shake off the unsettling red flags that began to surface. Christy recounted how Charles's attachment to her grew alarmingly fast, leading her to make the difficult decision to end their relationship. But even after their split, Charles's relentless pursuit continued, with him openly declaring his feelings in a way that felt increasingly ominous. The love she felt for him was a desperate longing, a revelation that caught Chris off guard. She and Charles had never crossed the boundary of a kiss, yet the air between them crackled with unspoken tension. Chris, with her profession dedicated to the care of abused children, had developed a keen eye for the signs of trauma. She noticed unsettling patterns in Charles's behavior, whispers of a past that hinted at a darker story. It was a familiar tale, one she had seen unfold in the lives of her young clients. One fateful day, gathering her courage like a shield, Chris posed the question that had lingered in her mind. Had Charles endured abuse in his childhood? The answer that followed would unravel the threads of their connection in ways she could never have anticipated. He had endured unimaginable trauma, yet the police uncovered no evidence to substantiate Charles's allegations of abuse. Christy, however, believed in his truth. She saw him as a kind man and, out of sympathy, maintained contact, albeit from afar. Never did she suspect he was capable of murder. The autopsy of Jackie, shrouded in mystery, offered scant details. Her cause of death remained elusive, as did the location of her murder before the horrific dismemberment and incineration. The prosecution found themselves in a precarious position, grappling with the daunting task of building a murder case, as the autopsy results provided little clarity or support for their claims. In a chilling tale that unfolds with tragic consequences, the circumstances surrounding Jackie's death remain shrouded in mystery, leaving key questions lingering in the air. Charles, the man at the center of this dark narrative, confessed to the grim act of disposing of Jackie's body after a night that took a fatal turn during rough intercourse. Despite his admission of involvement, he staunchly pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. The prosecution, seeking to unravel the complexities of Charles's character, called upon Caitlin, his ex-girlfriend, to testify about his disturbing stalking behavior and violent tendencies, aiming to paint a portrait of obsession that could shed light on the sinister events that transpired. In a chilling twist of fate, a connection emerged between his seething rage directed at Caitlin and the brutal murder of Jackie, a woman whose likeness to Caitlin was so uncanny that even Charles acknowledged it during his interrogation. When Caitlin took the stand, the atmosphere was thick with tension, devoid of a jury's gaze. As she was pressed to identify Charles, an unsettling discomfort washed over her, and she hesitated to meet his eyes. But when the moment came, she reluctantly pointed him out, her voice trembling as she described the smirk that twisted his face, a smirk that filled her with revulsion. After delivering her harrowing testimony, Caitlin fled the courtroom, her composure shattered, and succumbed to tears, utterly overwhelmed by the weight of the ordeal. The emotional weight of the courtroom was palpable as the judge made a fateful decision. Caitlin would not be allowed to share the harrowing details of her relationship and the heartbreaking breakup with Charles. It was April 2018, a year and a half after the tragic loss of Jackie, and Charles Bryant was finally facing trial for her murder. Yet, in a twist of fate, Jackie's best friend found herself paralyzed by grief, unable to bear the sight of the man accused of such a heinous act. The thought of confronting him in that sterile courtroom was too much to endure, a painful reminder of the devastation that had shattered their lives forever. In the quiet town of Minnesota, a beloved figure named Heidi FKS had her life cruelly snatched away on April 25, 2010. The brutality of her murder sent shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone grappling with disbelief. The unthinkable truth emerged. The perpetrator was none other than her husband. Over a decade later, Nick FKS was arrested and ultimately convicted for the senseless act that shattered the trust of those who once held him dear. As the trial unfolded, the community was left reeling from the shocking revelations and the intricate web of deceit that had been meticulously woven, hidden from view for far too long. In the quaint, unassuming town of St. Paul, Minnesota, where familiarity was woven into the very fabric of daily life, an unspeakable horror shattered the peace. Heidi FKS, a vibrant young woman with dreams and aspirations, became the victim of a heinous crime that would forever alter the community. On that fateful day, April 25, 2010, her life was extinguished in a shocking act of violence, leaving behind a chilling mystery that has lingered in the shadows for years. Investigators, haunted by the unanswered questions, have grappled with the case as it grew cold, while Heidi's family and friends were left to navigate the torment of uncertainty, desperately seeking the truth that eluded them. Even more sadness and pain enveloped the community as, after decades of relentless searching, investigators finally uncovered the culprit, bringing closure to a long-standing mystery that had cast a dark shadow over their lives. Yet, amid this revelation, a haunting question lingered in the air. What drove the perpetrator to commit the horrific act that extinguished Heidi's life? Born on December 14, 1984, Heidi Marie FKS was the youngest of John and Alinda Erickson's 3 children and their only daughter. She lived her life to the fullest, known for her playful spirit and vibrant energy. In the year 2003, a young woman with an artistic spirit walked across the stage, her high school diploma in hand, ready to embark on a new chapter at the University of Northwestern in Roseville. This was not just an academic pursuit. It was a continuation of a life deeply intertwined with her community. Calvary Church, a sanctuary she had known since childhood, became a second home. It was here that she crossed paths with Nicholas FKS, known to friends simply as Nick. Together, they embraced the mantle of youth group leaders, pouring their hearts into the lives of those around them. Born on February 25, 1983, to Julie and Steve FKS, Nick was a figure of warmth and commitment, destined to leave a mark on the community they served together. In the bustling world of carpet cleaning, a driven and ambitious young man carved out his path as the director of operations at a reputable company. Known for his well-rounded personality and unyielding work ethic, he seemed destined for success. But it was in the sacred halls of Calvary Church, in the year 2005, that he encountered a woman who would change everything. At just 22 and 20, Nikki and Heidi found a connection that transcended the ordinary. Surrounded by the warmth of their loved ones and the familiar embrace of the church, they made the momentous decision to elevate their relationship, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their intertwined lives. In a world where love often flourishes, Nick and Heidi's union appeared to be a picture-perfect romance. They stood before friends and family, exchanging vows that seemed to bind their souls in an unbreakable commitment. To outsiders, their marriage was flawless, a testament to their shared passions for travel and biking, activities that brought them closer together. They were not just a couple. They were active participants in their church community, often seen hosting dinner parties that radiated warmth and camaraderie. Heidi had recently stepped into an administrative role at a financial services firm, a place where her father also worked, adding another layer to their intertwined lives. But beneath the surface of this idyllic relationship, the complexities of their journey were just beginning to unfold. What seemed like a strong and promising relationship was merely a facade, concealing the sinister reality that lurked behind closed doors. Heidi, blissfully unaware, was on the brink of a harrowing twist of fate. On that fateful morning of April 25th, 2010, she dialed 911 from her home in St. Paul, Minnesota, breathlessly reporting a break-in. Just 38 seconds into the call, as she began to relay her address, a chilling cry erupted from her lips, "No," followed by the unmistakable sound of a gunshot. In a mere 65 seconds after that horrifying shot rang out, Nick Ferris seized control of the situation, using Heidi's phone to contact the dispatcher, forever altering the course of their lives. In a chilling moment, the frantic voice of Nick echoed through the phone line, a desperate plea for help as he recounted the horror unfolding in his home. "Please, someone just broke into my house and shot me and my wife." His cries were laced with anguish, repeating the name of his beloved, "Oh my Heidi," as he faced the unimaginable, his wife lying lifeless, a gunshot wound marking the tragic end of her life. When the police arrived, they found Heidi unresponsive in the kitchen, the scene painted with the stark reality of violence. Nick, still on the floor beside her, was a picture of despair, having suffered a gunshot wound to his upper left leg. He recounted the terror, claiming that one or two intruders had invaded their sanctuary, leaving behind a shattered existence. With a shotgun in hand, he and his wife made a desperate bid for freedom, racing toward the detached garage. But fate had other plans. The intruder overpowered him, seizing the weapon and turning it against them. In a heart-wrenching moment, both Nick and Heidi fell victim to the violence that erupted. Tragically, Heidi's life was extinguished right there, her future snuffed out in an instant. Nick, however, was whisked away to the hospital, where the police awaited him, eager to unravel the chaos. They pressed him for answers, questioning why he and Heidi had left the supposed safety of their bedroom to confront the lurking threat. His response was simple, yet haunting. They were just trying to survive. As the sun began to rise, Nick slipped out of the house through the back door, a move that would soon become a pivotal moment in his story. Just hours earlier, he had been treated for his wounds at the hospital, released after a mere 3 hours. But the night was far from over. Back at the police station, Nick found himself recounting the harrowing events that had unfolded. He spoke with a clarity that belied the chaos of the night before, recalling the mundane act of watching a movie with Heidi, the comfort of a late-night snack, and the creeping hour of midnight. It was around 6:10 to 6:15 a.m. when he awoke, the shadows of the night still clinging to him, ready to unravel the truth of what had transpired. As the chilling scream echoed through the night, the door creaked open, and the unsettling sound of someone tampering with the doorknob sent shivers down Nick's spine. Under the scrutinizing gaze of investigators, he recounted the moment with a mix of dread and regret. He confessed that he and Heidi typically ensured the deadbolt was secured, yet on that fateful night, he had let his guard down. The tension thickened as he described how he retrieved his shotgun from the upstairs closet, a weapon he had pulled from the basement just a month prior, its surface marred by rust. Though initially empty, the urgency of the situation compelled him to load it, his heart racing as the ominous noises grew closer. As the sun began to rise, a chilling tension hung in the air. Nick stirred awake, his mind racing with the events that had unfolded. Heidi, with urgency in her voice, urged him to call 911. She instructed him to leave the house, to seek refuge in the garage where their cars awaited. It was a plan they had crafted together, a lifeline in times of peril. Nick, a right-handed man, clutched a pair of jeans in his right hand, while his left gripped a shotgun, a stark reminder of the danger lurking just beyond their walls. Together, they moved cautiously, pausing at the front door to retrieve her wallet from the table, unaware of the dark shadows that loomed just outside their sanctuary. The moment he uttered those words, The door exploded open. A tall, dark-skinned man, standing around 6 feet 1 inch and weighing between 200 to 220 pounds, stormed in. The intruder was cloaked in a dark hooded sweatshirt, the hood drawn tightly around his face, obscuring his identity. Nick recounted how he dropped his jeans in shock, and in that instant, the intruder lunged for the barrel of the shotgun. A fierce struggle ensued, a chaotic clash of wills. In the heat of the moment, the gun discharged. Nick recalled, "My finger accidentally slipped on the trigger as she was fleeing, so I must have hit." In the dim light of that fateful evening, Nick's voice trembled as he recounted the harrowing events. The shot rang out, striking Heidi, who crumpled to the floor in an instant. A desperate struggle ensued over the shotgun, a violent dance of survival, until the weapon discharged again. This time, the bullet found its mark in Nick's upper thigh, sending him crashing to the ground. As the intruder made his escape through the front door, Nick's world began to fade. Heidi lay unresponsive beside him, and soon, darkness enveloped him. In the aftermath, he revealed to investigators a chilling detail. Their home was set to be foreclosed the very next day, a cruel twist of fate that loomed over their tragic night. On that fateful day, a heavy burden weighed on Nick's shoulders as he prepared to reveal the grim reality to his parents and friends. He and Heidi had found themselves ensnared in a web of financial despair, their bills piling up like ominous shadows, leading to the foreclosure of their home, a place now claimed by an unknown buyer. The clock was ticking, and they were forced to vacate, yet the truth remained locked away, hidden from the prying eyes of loved ones. Nick's voice trembled as he recounted their desperate plan, to pack their lives into boxes over the weekend, leaving behind remnants of their existence in the garage, a haunting reminder of what once was. They hoped to find refuge with someone, anyone, to escape the impending storm that loomed over them. But fate had other plans, shrouding the once tranquil home in an unsettling aura of tragedy. The lives of Nick and Heidi would never be the same, forever altered by the harrowing events of that fateful morning. As the investigation unfolded, law enforcement cordoned off the area, meticulously interviewing residents. Yet, none of the neighbors could recall seeing anyone depart from the residence. One neighbor, Brendan O'Connor, who was tending to kittens in a nearby house, relayed to the authorities that he had overheard a heated argument, followed by the chilling sound of gunfire and a desperate cry. "You shot her! You shot me, please, please no." Although no one witnessed the intruder leaving, after several weeks, Nick took a brave step forward. He provided the police with a sketch of the suspect, a haunting image that was then shared with the public. Whose sketch was that? After speaking with the police, they released the chilling description that Nick had given of the suspected intruder. A male, race unknown, standing between 6 feet to 6 feet 2 inches tall, weighing between 200 to 220 pounds, cloaked in a dark hooded sweatshirt. About 3 weeks later, the police unveiled a sketch crafted by an artist hired by Nick's lawyer, based on the chilling details he had provided. In the chilling account that emerged, Nick painted a vivid picture of the suspect, a man described as African American, aged between 40 and 60. The investigation took a dark turn as authorities zeroed in on this unidentified intruder, driven by Nick's haunting description. They scoured the area with relentless determination, searching for any shred of evidence or witnesses that could corroborate Nick's unsettling narrative. Yet, despite their efforts, the investigation into Heidi's tragic death spiraled into a void, yielding no arrests or charges, and leaving the case shrouded in mystery for years to come. Many years passed, shrouded in silence, until a shocking revelation pierced the veil of Heidi's murder case, a case that had languished unresolved for over a decade. Nick, seemingly unburdened by the weight of the past, had moved on, marrying Rachel and embarking on the journey of family life. Yet, beneath the surface of their domestic bliss, financial troubles began to rear their ugly heads, igniting a flicker of suspicion in Rachel's mind. Her unease about their precarious financial situation, coupled with Nick's evasive demeanor, compelled her to dig deeper. As she unearthed secrets and inconsistencies buried in Nick's past, Rachel found herself on a treacherous path, one that would ultimately lead her to question everything she thought she knew. Everything Rachel believed about her husband and his connection to Heidi's tragic demise was about to unravel. Unbeknownst to her, the couple was grappling with financial turmoil, eerily reminiscent of the struggles Heidi and Nick had faced years prior. Consumed by anxiety, Rachel reached out to the authorities, sparking a renewed interest in the case. Investigators turned their gaze toward Nick's second wife, Rachel Ferris, whom he had married in 2012. By the time Rachel spoke to the authorities, she had already severed ties with Nick, overwhelmed by his escalating financial woes. In a chilling twist, she had even recorded their conversations. In a tense conversation, she faced Nick, unmasking the deceit that had festered between them before their divorce in 2019. She recounted to investigators how he was merely repeating the same patterns he had with Heidi. A letter loomed ominously, revealing unpaid property taxes that threatened eviction by 2020. When Rachel reached out to the police, her suspicions ignited a series of events that would reignite the flames of the Heidi Ferris murder case. Sergeant Nicole Sipes, assigned to the investigation, leaned in, captivated by Rachel's revelations. As the shadows of doubt loomed over the investigation, Sergeant Nicole Sipes of the St. Paul Police Department found herself drawn into the chilling depths of Heidi's murder. With a relentless pursuit of truth, she made the audacious decision to call in the FBI, seeking their expertise to dissect the haunting audio recordings of the 911 call. Each second of that fateful night echoed with potential secrets, and Sipes hoped to unearth clues that could illuminate the darkness surrounding the case. However, after meticulous scrutiny, the FBI delivered a shocking revelation. There was no evidence of a third party lurking in the shadows during the tragic event. This finding sent ripples through the investigation, starkly contradicting the narrative spun by Heidi's husband. Earlier, Sergeant Sipes and her team found themselves ensnared in a web of confusion, grappling with the implications of new information. If only Heidi and her husband were present in the house. What dark turn of events transpired between them that culminated in her tragic death? The absence of a third party only deepened their suspicions regarding the husband's potential role in this grim narrative. With a relentless drive to uncover the truth, the investigation surged forward with renewed vigor. The FBI's revelations had illuminated a fresh avenue to explore, and Sergeant Sipes was resolute in her quest to bring justice for Heidi, determined to peel back the layers of this haunting mystery. Answers to her grieving family. The investigators unearthed financial documents that starkly contradicted the statements made by Nicholas Fuss. These records deepened their suspicions about his involvement in Heidi's murder. Nick's narrative about the fateful night was a tangled web of inconsistencies. Initially, he claimed that he had retrieved his gun, only for the intruder to wrest it away and shoot both him and Heidi. But as the investigation progressed, his story morphed. He then insisted that the intruder hadn't taken the gun at all, and instead his own finger had inadvertently pulled the trigger, striking Heidi in the back. Despite the thorough investigation, there remained an unsettling cloud of uncertainty surrounding the truth of that tragic night. In the chilling silence of the crime scene, there lay a notable absence of any signs of struggle. No overturned furniture, no marks on the walls. The forensic analysis painted a starkly different picture than Nick's account of that fateful night, particularly when it came to the trajectory of the shot that struck Heidi. Adding to the intrigue, Heidi's 911 call revealed no mention of an intruder lurking in the shadows. The absence of evidence indicating a break-in only deepened the investigators' suspicions, leading them to believe that this void of clues was a calculated move by Nick to conceal his role in Heidi's tragic demise. It wasn't long before an arrest warrant was issued, sealing Nick's fate in this haunting tale of deception and loss. On May 19th, 2021, more than a decade after the tragic death of Heidi, a specialized team descended upon Nick Ferris's home in Mounds View, executing an arrest that would send shockwaves through the community. The catalyst for this dramatic turn of events? The suspicions of Rachel and the relentless pursuit of justice by Police Sergeant Nicole Sipes. This unexpected development caught many off guard, as they had resigned themselves to the belief that the case was forever shrouded in silence, destined to remain unsolved. As the legal proceedings began to unfold, the layers of the case were meticulously peeled back, revealing the haunting truths of that fateful night. And as the investigation deepened, one question loomed large in the minds of all: what really happened that night? As the shadows of tragedy loomed over the case, the question lingered: would Nick face the consequences for Heidi's untimely demise? In the wake of Nicholas's arrest, Heidi's family released a poignant statement, expressing their deep gratitude for those relentless souls who had tirelessly pursued justice. They acknowledged the unwavering support from the community, those who had prayed and stood by them through the years of heartache. With a flicker of hope, they clung to the belief that these charges might finally unveil the truth and pave the way for justice for Heidi. Though the ache of loss would never fade, they held on to the conviction that Heidi would want nothing more than the truth to emerge. For in truth, they believed, God is honored. Life and memory intertwine, each thread woven with the fabric of truth. The family's words echoed with a haunting blend of relief, gratitude, and an unyielding resolve to seek the truth. They recognized the relentless dedication of those who refused to abandon the case, alongside the steadfast support of the community that rallied around them. Their statement carried a flicker of hope, a belief that the charges against Nick would pave the way for a resolution worthy of honoring Heidi's memory and delivering justice for her tragic demise. As the trial unfolded, Nick Ferris stood firm in his claim of innocence, entering a plea of not guilty, a stark declaration amidst the shadows of doubt that loomed over the courtroom. Guilty. The air was thick with tension as the trial unfolded, revealing a family torn apart by tragedy. Most notably, his father stood firm in his belief of Nick's innocence, arguing that the profound love Nick held for Heidi would have made such a violent act unimaginable. Yet, the jury, after a grueling 10-hour deliberation, reached a different conclusion. On February 10th, 2023, the unthinkable verdict echoed through the courtroom. Nick, the very person Heidi had trusted above all, was convicted of her brutal murder. The news struck like a thunderclap, leaving those who knew Heidi grappling with shock and disbelief. The prosecution laid out their case, but the aftermath was a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the closest relationships. In a chilling narrative, the timeline unfolded, revealing a man ensnared by the crushing weight of financial despair. The prosecution painted a harrowing picture, arguing that Nick had concealed the true depth of his financial woes from Heidi. In a desperate bid to escape the shame and inevitable conflict, he resorted to a tragic conclusion. As the trial progressed, the prosecution's doubts about his home invasion story loomed large, suggesting it was a mere facade to divert suspicion from himself. They presented a trove of unsettling evidence, including the absence of forced entry and glaring inconsistencies in Nick's account, each piece tightening the noose around his narrative. In a case that gripped the public's attention, one of the most compelling pieces of evidence was the glaring lack of DNA or any physical proof pointing to the existence of a third party, the so-called intruder. This void of evidence raised profound questions about the credibility of Nick's narrative. During the trial, prosecutor Rachel Cracker boldly asserted that Nick Fergus was evading the harsh reality of his own lies, ultimately driving him to commit an unthinkable act. He claimed he had taken Heidi's life to preserve his own reputation. Yet, in stark contrast, Nick's defense attorney, Robert Richmond, stood ready to challenge this narrative, argued that the leap from financial turmoil to the ultimate act of violence was unfathomable. He dismissed the notion that taking his wife's life could somehow salvage his reputation as sheer madness. As the trial unfolded, the moment of truth approached, with the jury grappling with Nick's destiny. The burden of evidence, the heart-wrenching testimonies, and the intricate legal debates all converged on a crucial verdict that would decide if justice would be delivered for the tragic loss of Heidi. Following lengthy court sessions and meticulous consideration, the stage was set for a verdict that would echo in the annals of this harrowing case. In a chilling turn of events, the jury, after meticulously sifting through the evidence, reached a unanimous verdict. Nick Ferris was guilty of first-degree murder. On that fateful day, April 13th, 2023, the judge delivered the harshest sentence imaginable: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Yet, even as the gavel fell, Nick clung to his narrative, vehemently denying any involvement in the tragic death of his wife, Heidi. His claims of innocence echoed in the courtroom, a stark contrast to the weight of the sentence he now faced. On the day of his sentencing, he expressed, "I recognize the pain and loss," a haunting reminder of the life forever altered by his conviction. Shared by everyone here today, justice had been served, but at what cost? A family shattered, a community betrayed, and a life taken far too soon. The finality of it all was almost too much to bear. The verdict brought a sense of closure to Heidi's family and friends, but also left them with the painful realization that the man they thought they knew was capable of such a heinous act. So you must be wondering, where is Nick now? Nick is currently serving his life sentence at the Minnesota Correctional Facility located in St. In the quiet town of Cloud, Minnesota, a dark cloud loomed over the community as the tragic tale unfolded. The motive behind the chilling act of violence remained shrouded in mystery, leaving many to ponder what could have driven Nick to such desperation. The investigation peeled back layers of his life, revealing a troubling timeline. In June 2009, Nick faced the harsh reality of foreclosure papers served on his home, a place that once held warmth and memories. That very month, the house was sold at a sheriff's auction, a devastating blow that marked the beginning of a downward spiral. As eviction proceedings loomed, starting in February 2010, the tension escalated. A hearing was set for March 8, 2010, and Nick attended, but he was alone, a solitary figure in a sea of uncertainty as the shadows of his life closed in around him. The original lockout date loomed ominously on April 9, 2010. In a desperate bid for reprieve, Nick reached out to the attorneys, weaving a tale of urgency. His grandmother was in the hospital, teetering on the brink of death. He pleaded for a postponement, shifting the lockout to April 26th. But as investigators delved deeper into the narrative, a chilling truth emerged. There was no trace of either of Nick's grandmothers in a hospital during that fateful year, nor any record of their demise. When the investigators turned their gaze toward Heidi, questioning her knowledge of the unfolding drama, Nick insisted she was fully aware of their precarious financial plight. He claimed they had conspired together, plotting their escape from the impending doom that loomed over them. In the quiet aftermath of their foreclosed home, a new chapter was meant to begin. But beneath the surface, darkness lurked. The shocking truth unraveled as prosecutors revealed the sinister depths of deception. He had concealed their financial turmoil from his wife, a web of lies that ultimately led to tragedy. In a heart-wrenching twist, he took her life before she could ever grasp the grim reality they faced. Instead of confronting their struggles together, Nick chose a path of horror, driven by shame over their mounting $18,000 credit card debt. The facade crumbled, leaving only devastation in its wake. For 22 long months, The weight of overdue mortgage payments hung heavy over him. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture, suggesting that he silenced Heidi, not out of malice, but from a desperate shame and fear of facing the grim reality they had created together. In a twisted act of self-preservation, he believed that by extinguishing her life, he could escape the consequences of his own deceit. Yet, as the gavel fell and justice was meted out, the deep scars of pain and loss endured by Heidi's loved ones remained. No verdict could ever mend the wounds inflicted or resurrect the vibrant spirit that was so cruelly snuffed out. It was a harrowing truth that the very person Heidi had placed her trust in would ultimately become her executioner. But that is precisely the unfolding of her tragic tale. 6 Michael Haight entered the world on January 7th, 1980, in Seattle, Washington. Yet, in the early chapters of his life, his family made a significant move to Cedar City, Utah, following his father's completion of dental school. As a child, Michael embodied the essence of a typical young boy, reveling in baseball, basketball, and soccer. He achieved the esteemed rank of Eagle Scout and shone academically. After graduating high school in 1998, Michael embarked on a summer job at a fish plant in Alaska, swiftly rising to the role of line manager, where he oversaw operations with an air of authority. More than a dozen men admired his work ethic and dedication, which ultimately led to his promotion. Michael embarked on a mission trip to South Brazil as a devoted member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This journey not only deepened his faith, but also solidified his commitment to his religious community. Upon returning to the United States, Michael pursued a degree in business at Southern Utah University, graduating in 2004. It was there that he met Tasha Earle, his future wife, and their love story began to unfold. In the serene setting of the St. George Temple, on May 10th, 2003, Michael exchanged vows, embodying the ideal of a devoted husband and father. To the outside world, he was a man of dedication, coaching his children's sports teams, attending school concerts, and sharing joyful moments sledding and working on projects in the garage. But on January 4th, 2023, the carefully constructed facade began to crumble. That fateful day, 8 bodies were discovered in the Hyatt residence, leaving investigators and neighbors alike in a state of shock and bewilderment. Early that morning, Tasha had, in a quiet neighborhood, an unsettling silence hung over the Haight residence. It all began when Michael, the husband, failed to show up for work, and his wife missed an online appointment. Concerned colleagues, sensing something was amiss, reached out to the authorities, prompting a welfare check. When officers arrived, they knocked on the door, but no one answered. As they circled the property, a chilling realization set in. It seemed as though the home was deserted. With 5 children unaccounted for, the police took the next step, contacting the Iron County School District to determine if any of the kids had made it to school that day. The tension in the air thickened as the mystery deepened. It was a chilling discovery when the police arrived at the Hayes home, only to find that none of the children were present. With a sense of urgency, they cleared the premises, ensuring that no immediate danger lurked within those walls. After a meticulous search, they confirmed that no one required medical attention and that there were no signs of an active threat. The Hayes family resided in a seemingly ordinary single-story residence, complete with a basement. Detectives soon arrived on the scene, the air thick with tension as the home was declared a crime scene. Upon entering the main bedroom, their eyes fell upon the lifeless form of 4-year-old Gavin, laying flat on the floor, a haunting sight that would forever change the course of this investigation. His stomach lay flat against the sheets, his head turned to the left, one arm tucked beneath a comfortable pillow. A blanket draped over a portion of his body, reminiscent of Gavin. Tasha, too, was only partially concealed by the blanket. As the detectives moved through the dimly lit room, they stumbled upon an older woman on the opposite side of the bed. It was later revealed that she was Gail, T's mother. Gail lay on her back, her head resting on a pillow, mirroring the stillness of her daughter and grandson. She, too, was only partially covered by a blanket. The detectives pressed on, their search of the Hates' home unfolding like a chilling narrative. As the detectives stepped into Bry's room, a chilling scene unfolded before them. There lay a 12-year-old girl, slightly inclined, her small frame partially obscured by a blanket. The atmosphere was heavy with an unsettling silence. In Amon's room, the detectives stumbled upon a stark contrast. A 7-year-old boy lay face down in the corner, devoid of comfort, with no pillow or blanket to shield him from the cold reality of his surroundings. Meanwhile, Sienna, Amon's twin sister, was discovered in her bedroom, lying on her left side, her head resting on a pillow, cocooned in a blanket that offered a semblance of warmth. The eldest of the siblings, 17-year-old Macy, was found in her bed, her head resting on a pillow, a haunting stillness enveloping the space. In a chilling scene, the detectives discovered a pillow cradling the head of a woman, her body shrouded beneath a blanket. The search led them to the basement's exercise room, where they found Michael Haas sprawled atop a sleeping bed. All 8 victims lay lifeless, each succumbing to a gunshot wound. It didn't take long for the detectives to zero in on Michael as the prime suspect. They pieced together a harrowing theory. He had murdered his wife, mother-in-law, and 5 children before turning the gun on himself. As the investigation unfolded, a neighbor emerged with vital information, helping the detectives construct a haunting timeline of the tragic events that had transpired. In the stillness of the night, a neighbor emerged from the shadows, her voice trembling as she recounted the chilling moment she awoke at 3:30 a.m. The darkness held secrets, and she was about to reveal one of them to the police. As she stepped out of her room to use the bathroom, a loud bang shattered the stillness, echoing through the halls like the crack of fireworks. But a quick glance at the calendar reminded her that the legal date for such celebrations had long passed, igniting a flicker of annoyance within her. The neighbor's voice carried on, recounting how after that first jarring explosion, 2 more followed in rapid succession. Each noise was punctuated by a brief silence, only to be interrupted again by another bang, a relentless rhythm that seemed to mock the tranquility of the night. There was a longer pause before the final bang. Based on the neighbor's statement and the grim condition of the 8 bodies discovered within the house, the detective began to speculate about the ominous sounds that had echoed through the night around 3:30 a.m. As the chilling events of that fateful night began to unravel, it became clear that Michael Haight was at the center of the brutal killings, his actions meticulously timed within a narrow window of horror. During the relentless investigation into the Haight family murders, detectives uncovered a disturbing lead. An unnamed non-family member had bravely stepped forward, reporting abuse to the authorities in the Utah division, setting the stage for a deeper dive into the dark secrets that lay beneath the surface. In the year 2020, a chilling revelation emerged from the depths of Child and Family Services. A young girl named Macy, just 14 years old, found the courage to confide in a caseworker about her deep-seated fear of her father. This confession ignited a firestorm of scrutiny into the dark corners of the household. Following the receipt of the DCFS report, both Macy and her parents were interviewed, but it was during Macy's interview that the true horror began to unfold. The interviewer was met with a harrowing account as Macy recounted the terrifying moments when her father would choke her, leaving her in a state of sheer terror, convinced that he might take her life. It was here that the sinister pattern of violence began to reveal itself, a chilling tale of abuse that had been lurking in the shadows. In the year 2017, a chilling account emerged from a daughter who recounted a harrowing moment when her father seized her by the shoulders, forcefully shoving her against a wooden piece of furniture. When detectives turned their attention to Michael, he vehemently denied any wrongdoing, dismissing his daughter's haunting memories as mere misunderstandings. He attributed his emotional turmoil to the recent death of his father and the divorce of his brother, claiming these events had driven him to lash out at his eldest daughter. Despite the gravity of the situation, Tasha chose not to pursue criminal charges against him, leaving the shadows of their family history lingering in the air. In a chilling turn of events, the Department of Children and Family Services, alongside the Enoch Police Department and the Iron County Prosecutor's Office, made a startling decision. They would not press charges. Their investigation revealed that the case fell short of the statute's requirements for prosecution. As the story unfolded, a lethality assessment was performed on Tasha. The results were unsettling. Her responses suggested that her relationship with Michael was not deemed lethal. Yet, in the aftermath, victim services were extended to Tasha and her children, providing support for several months following the opening of the case. Through the whispers of Tasha's friends, the detectives unearthed a chilling narrative that diverged sharply from the facade presented to the community. Each visit to Tasha's home was shrouded in an unsettling ritual. The water in the kitchen would run incessantly, a desperate attempt to drown out the hushed exchanges. Tasha, gripped by paranoia, feared that Michael was lurking, eavesdropping on their every word. These loyal friends, aware of the oppressive atmosphere, would lend a hand in tidying up the house, striving to eliminate any reason for Michael's wrath. Tasha's friends revealed a chilling pattern in her communication. Whenever they reached out, her replies were brief, laced with positivity, as if she were acutely aware that Michael might be watching. This facade seemed to serve a dual purpose: to project an image of marital bliss while concealing the cracks beneath the surface. The detectives delving into the case uncovered unsettling truths about Michael's behavior. His controlling nature loomed large over Tasha's life. One particularly insidious method of his control was through the manipulation of her freedom, a tactic that left her increasingly isolated. Her car keys and phone were taken, a calculated move to keep her from escaping. Then there was the unsettling incident involving Michael's reaction to Tasha's seemingly innocent purchase of a $30 rug from Walmart, meant to replace a soiled one. Despite Tasha's genuine need, Michael erupted in anger, deeming the purchase excessive. Tasha confided in her friends about her growing concern. Her 7-year-old son, On, was beginning to mirror his father's troubling behavior. Whenever Tasha instructed On to do something, he would defiantly retort, "That's not my job." The echoes of Michael's influence were unmistakable, casting a shadow over their home. In the shadows of Tasha's life, a troubling narrative unfolded, one that revealed the unsettling dynamics of control and rebellion. Iman's behavior mirrored a chilling disregard for authority, a reflection of the chaos that Michael perpetuated. Tasha, caught in this web, found her instructions dismissed, her voice drowned out by the echoes of Michael's dominance. It was in 2022, amidst the suffocating weight of her obligations, that Tasha dared to reclaim a fragment of herself, a rare moment of self-care as she sought to get her nails done. But this small act of defiance was swiftly crushed under Michael's iron grip, as he imposed strict restrictions on her fleeting taste of freedom, leaving her to navigate the dark corridors of her constrained existence. Tasha's indulgence marked a turning point in her life, a moment where she felt a surge of renewed confidence in her beauty. She confided in Michael about her plan to indulge in monthly nail appointments, a revelation that ignited a storm of discontent within him. His anger simmered as he questioned the financial implications of her newfound habit, his voice laced with disbelief. Tasha, poised and calm, laid out the facts. Maintaining this self-care ritual would cost a mere $25 each month. Yet, Michael's skepticism only deepened as he argued that her spending was robbing their children of essential nourishment. The tension thickened, a silent battle of priorities unfolding in their home. In a chilling tale of manipulation and control, Michael's perspective was steeped in a desperate need for dominance and a twisted sense of financial obligation to his family. As Tasha embarked on a journey of self-care and began shedding the weight that had long been a target of her husband's cruel words, Michael's fury erupted. Accusations of infidelity flew from his lips, a desperate attempt to rationalize the transformation he could not comprehend. His controlling behavior escalated, reaching a sinister peak as he tried to manipulate Tasha's newfound confidence, pleading with her to halt her weight loss, revealing the depths of his possessiveness. In a chilling tale of obsession and control, a man's fixation on his wife's appearance spiraled into a dark narrative. He was consumed by the fear that other men might gaze at her with longing, a reflection of his own deep-seated insecurities. This demand for her to lose weight was not merely about health. It was about power, a desperate need to dominate her body and behavior. Tasha, caught in this web of manipulation, faced a seemingly innocuous incident that would reveal the cracks in their facade. When the family kitchen table unexpectedly shattered, she found herself in need of a replacement. But Michael, with his iron grip on their finances, refused to provide the funds. Frustration boiled within her, and in a moment of defiance, Tasha resolved to take control of her own narrative. She decided to refinish the old table, hoping to breathe new life into it, unaware of the deeper implications of her actions in a household where every choice was scrutinized. In a household where love should have flourished, a chilling tension brewed beneath the surface. Michael, a man of considerable means, harbored a frugal heart that clashed violently with the spirit of the season. Tasha, ever the devoted mother, sought to create a magical Christmas for their 5 children, but Michael's stinginess cast a long shadow over her efforts. With only a meager $100 to spare for each child, he wielded his financial power like a weapon, denying the warmth and joy that should have filled their home. Despite his substantial paycheck from all 8, he clung to his money, justifying his actions with a cold rationale that left Tasha and their children yearning for the love and generosity that should have been theirs. In this tale of holiday despair, the true cost of Michael's defiance became painfully clear. In the shadows of their home, a chilling dynamic unfolded. Michael, consumed by an obsession that blurred the lines of reason, felt entitled to dictate the very fabric of Tasha's daily existence. His fervent mission to minimize waste morphed into a tyrannical regime, where even the simplest tasks became laden with his stringent rules. Tasha found herself trapped in a relentless cycle of washing and reusing plastic bags, a task that seemed innocuous but quickly spiraled into an overwhelming burden. Each bag, once a mere convenience, transformed into a symbol of Michael's control, suffocating her under the weight of his demands. As his grip tightened, the walls of their home echoed with the unspoken tension, a testament to the lengths one might go to in the name of righteousness. In the shadows of their home, Tasha found herself ensnared in a web of demands that seemed innocuous at first. Michael, with his insistence on eco-friendly cleaning and baby wipes, masked a deeper control that suffocated her sense of comfort and hygiene. Each day, the pressure mounted. Failure to follow his stringent rules meant facing dire consequences. The air thickened with unspoken threats, as Michael made it abundantly clear that disobedience would not be tolerated. Tasha, caught in this chilling grip of fear, had no option but to bend to his will, her spirit slowly eroding under the weight of his relentless expectations. Tasha shared her darkest secrets with her friends, revealing the chilling reality of her marriage to Michael. For years, he had been cruel to her, but it wasn't until the late 2010s that his malice began to seep into the lives of their children. As the days turned into months, the torment directed at their daughter, Macy, escalated to a harrowing degree. The pressure was suffocating. Michael's relentless demand for perfection weighed heavily on her fragile spirit. Straight A's were not just a goal. They were a weapon in his arsenal of abuse. Macy, already buckling under the strain of her father's cruelty, found herself contemplating the unthinkable, trapped in a nightmare of expectations and despair. Expectations loomed large over Macy, a weight she could hardly bear. Her friends recounted to the detectives a chilling scene from the home she shared with her family. One evening, Michael walked in to find Macy curled up with her head resting in her mother's lap, a picture of despair. Anger and frustration bubbled within him as he barked at her to rise and tidy her room. The moment left an indelible mark on Macy, her mind haunted by the memory of her father's eyes, dark pools filled with hatred and an unsettling malevolence. As the detectives delved deeper, they uncovered another unsettling episode involving 7-year-old Briley, who was innocently playing with a changing table, unaware of the shadows lurking in their home. Did not cease when Michael confronted her. This moment spiraled into a dark narrative where Michael placed the blame squarely on his wife, Tasha, for their children's behavior. He branded them the worst children imaginable, labeling them as disrespectful and terrible. But the cruelty didn't stop there. Michael hurled insults at Tasha, calling her fat and ugly, all while their 5 children bore witness to this toxic display. It was amidst this harrowing episode that Tasha resolved to escape the nightmare, setting her sights on divorce after 2 decades of entrapment in a marriage marked by Michael's abusive tendencies. Tasha's journey took a dark turn as she grappled with the unsettling reality of her husband's uncontrollable rage. It was a chilling wake-up call, one that echoed through the lives of her children, leaving a trail of fear and uncertainty. The weight of this behavior pressed heavily on her heart, forcing her to confront a painful truth. Remaining in the marriage was no longer an option. After 2 long decades with Michael, the decision to divorce was anything but easy. Yet, the safety and well-being of her children eclipsed any lingering attachment to their marital bond. On December 21st, 2022, Tasha took a decisive step, filing for divorce from Michael. But in a calculated move, she requested that the papers be delivered only after the holidays, seeking a moment of peace before the storm of change swept through their lives. It was the last Christmas that would ever feel normal for her 5 children, a bittersweet holiday overshadowed by the impending separation. She sensed the storm brewing, knowing that Michael's behavior was bound to escalate once the divorce papers landed in his hands. Determined to shield her children from the chaos, she tried to keep the holiday spirit alive, unaware of the darkness that loomed just beyond the festivities. 2 days after Christmas, the papers were delivered to Michael's Allstate office, a stark reminder of the unraveling family. Yet, in a chilling twist, Michael reached out to Tasha, his voice deceptively calm, as if nothing had changed. He inquired about her day, completely oblivious to the reality that she had just served him with divorce papers. In a cruel twist of fate, he demanded she leave, but with a chilling insistence that she should take the children with her, leaving the air thick with tension and uncertainty. In a tense standoff, Tasha stood resolute, refusing to abandon her children despite Michael's escalating demands. That evening, she made the decision to take the kids to her mother's home in Lynn, Utah. But the drama didn't end there. Michael, relentless in his pursuit, showed up at his mother-in-law's doorstep, trying to persuade Tasha to join him for a ride. Yet, Tasha's instincts screamed danger, and she confided in her friends about her unease at the thought of being alone with him. As the divorce proceedings unfolded, Tasha's mother, Gail Earle, moved in, determined to shield her daughter and grandchildren from the storm brewing around them. However, Michael's actions during this tumultuous period only served to deepen the chasm between him and Tasha. Rather than leaving the family home, he opted for the shadows of the basement, where the fitness room lay. There, he made a makeshift bed on the floor, a sleeping bag and a solitary pillow his only companions, while his clothes hung like ghosts on hangers, piled on a couch just outside the door. Meanwhile, Tasha, sensing something amiss, confided in her friends about a troubling discovery, a discrepancy in their children's savings accounts, which once held a substantial $20,000. It was then that she unearthed the chilling truth. Michael had clandestinely siphoned the money away, leaving her to grapple with the betrayal. In a chilling twist of fate, Tasha found herself in a precarious situation, unaware of the sinister actions unfolding around her. After the death of her father, she inherited a collection of firearms, hunting rifles, and a handgun, symbols of protection that would soon be stripped away. As January 2023 dawned, Tasha made a shocking discovery. All the firearms had vanished from her home. A deeper investigation unveiled the unsettling truth. Michael, her estranged partner, had stealthily removed the weapons, leaving Tasha and her family exposed and defenseless in a world that could turn dangerous in an instant. Meanwhile, their eldest child, Macy, confided in her friends, expressing a surprising relief over her parents' impending divorce, a revelation that hinted at the turmoil brewing beneath the surface of their fractured family. In a house where shadows loomed larger than the light, Macy longed for a semblance of peace, a tranquility that seemed forever out of reach as long as her father, Michael, remained. The thought of divorce danced in her mind, a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. But Macy held a secret, a hidden phone tucked away in her room, a device that bore witness to the storm that raged within those walls. With the help of a trusted friend, she recorded her father's erratic outbursts, each clip a piece of evidence in her quest for liberation. Yet, fate took a cruel turn when Tasha discovered the phone and concealed it, leaving Macy vulnerable. Meanwhile, her younger sister Briley was caught in the crossfire, enduring the relentless turmoil that defined their home life, a silent witness to the unraveling of their family. In the quiet corners of suburban life, Bri often found herself seeking refuge at her neighbor's house. This neighbor, a kind soul with grandchildren of a similar age, provided a sanctuary where Bri could escape the turbulence of her own home. In hushed tones, she confided in a friend about her unexpected relief regarding her parents' impending divorce, even hinting at the thrill of new books on the horizon. Yet, a shadow of fear loomed over her, preventing her from sharing this joy with her father, lest his anger erupt. Meanwhile, on a fateful January day in 2023, Tasha sat across from her attorney, the weight of her ongoing battle against her abusive husband, Michael, heavy in the air as they delved into the complexities of her divorce. In a chilling conversation, Tasha disclosed a significant shift in her home life. Michael, still residing under the same roof, had recently taken refuge in the basement, a move that brought her a sense of relief amidst his unpredictable behavior. The attorneys, probing deeper, questioned Tasha about her feelings regarding her safety and that of her children, especially in light of Michael's sporadic outbursts. With a calm demeanor, Tasha assured them that she had never felt threatened, never once doubting her family's security. Yet, as the shadows of hindsight crept in, it became painfully evident that her unwavering optimism and misplaced trust in her husband were dangerously naive. In a case that would haunt the community, the investigation into the family shooting unfolded like a dark tale of despair. Police detectives embarked on a harrowing journey, meticulously unraveling the chilling sequence of events that culminated in tragedy. Among the digital evidence gathered from the family's computers and cell phones, one discovery sent shivers down their spines. On December 30th, just days before the deadly shooting, Michael's unsettling Google search at 10:41 p.m. loomed large, a foreboding glimpse into the mind behind the horror. Michael's inquiries plunged into the dark world of firearms and shooting, each search a breadcrumb leading deeper into a chilling narrative of his intentions. The results of these searches, alongside other evidence collected during the investigation, painted a haunting portrait of a man on the edge. Alarming questions emerged. revealing Michael's despair as he confessed he could no longer endure the situation, vowing to end the manipulation and control that had ensnared him. His note, a raw outpouring of frustration and desperation, echoed with pleas for help that fell on deaf ears, a poignant testament to his isolation. Michael's resolve to avoid being a burden to society stands stark against the backdrop of a case that has left many reeling in shock and disbelief. It unveils the harrowing portrait of a family ensnared in a web of dysfunction and violence. His actions were not impulsive. They were premeditated, meticulously orchestrated. He plotted the murders with chilling precision, ensuring that his wife and children remained blissfully unaware until the moment it was far too late. As the rain falls and the night deepens, we gather here at Radio Night, drawn into the chilling tales of true crime that remind us of the dark mysteries lurking in the shadows of life. In the hushed embrace of the night, vigilance is paramount. If tonight's tale captivated your imagination, remember to like, share, and subscribe. As the rain gently taps against your window, allow it to serenade you into slumber. Until we meet again, remain safe, stay inquisitive, and let the shadows of the night be your companion.